Everyone hear me?
Yes.
I'm assuming we can. Thank you all for being here, and thank the members of our city.
Oh, I can barely hear you.
Mayor, it's now 4 o'clock.
Yes, I know. I'm on right now. Can you hear me now, Ms. Gilliard?
Faintly, Mr. Mayor. I don't know why though.
I don't either. Let's see if we can figure that out, Mr. Clerk. But right now, everybody else hears me pretty clearly.
Testing 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good. Once again, thank all of you for being here, and thank the
Mr. Mayor, can you hear me?
I hear you. Are we ready?
Shucks.
Okay. Well, once again, thank you all for being here, and thank you for the members of this community who come in and share with us today. This is Tuesday, March the 23rd, 2001 at 4 o'clock, and I call the meeting to order. Mr. Clerk?
Yes, sir.
Roll call, please.
Roll call for the regular meeting, March 23rd. The Honorable William Bill Edwards, Mayor.
Here.
The Honorable Catherine F. Rowell, District 1.
Present.
The Honorable Carmelita Gumbs, District 2.
Present.
The Honorable Helen Z. Willis, District 3.
Present.
The Honorable Naima Gilliard, District 4.
Present.
The Honorable Corey A. Reeves, District 5.
Present and accounted for.
The Honorable Councilmember Khalid, District 6.
Present.
And the Honorable Mark Baker, District 7.
Present.
Mr. Mayor and members of council, you have a quorum.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clerk. We now have the invocation and pledge of allegiance by chaplain.
Let us pray. Dear gracious God, we are so grateful and thankful for all your goodness, your kindness. Oh God, we ask your blessings to fall upon our mayor and council, the entire city of South Fulton, and all that participate. Continue to strengthen us and bind us in your care. We pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stand one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chaplain.
Thank you, Mayor.
Adoption of this consent agenda, a council agenda. I need a motion.
Mr. Mayor, excuse me.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Councilmember Gilliard.
I would like to pull number 7 off of the consent agenda. It's for the plats. We need more time, so that's why I would like to pull it off the consent agenda.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else?
Yes, I would like to pull the economic development resolution.
What number?
Off of,
Number
it
15.
is
15.
number 15.
Okay.
I would like to pull that off and not put it on the regular agenda. I would like to pull it off of the agenda so the city manager can have further discussion with city council on that item.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Anything else?
Clarification of Councilwoman Willis's request. So the discussion with council, you don't want to add it to the agenda for discussion?
No.
No, I would like to vote that we to pull it off of the agenda completely so that we can, so the city manager can have offline discussion with city council members. And I think we have to vote on every last one of these items that we're pulling off.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So I mean, Mayor, is it okay for me to make a motion?
Well, let me just see if anyone else needs to pull anything off. Okay, Ms. Gilliard, give me a motion on what you want.
Is this for the entire agenda or just the consent agenda?
Just the consent.
This is
No,
consent.
Okay.
Mr. Clerk, what did you say?
Now I was going to say, Councilmember Gumbs, this is any item on the agenda that you want to remove or hold.
Well, I thought the mayor just asked us to make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Exactly.
He did not ask us to make a motion to approve the regular agenda.
I think, let me make a clarification on that, because I think I did say that at first, but I did come back and say council agenda.
No, you never said council agenda, Mayor. I mean, you said, you were very clear. You said will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. It's not a problem, but that's not what you said.
Let's, Mr. Clerk, let's do that right quick, because it might have been a mistake on my part, but let's do it on the consent agenda, and we'll drop back into the other, okay?
Yes, sir.
All
Okay,
right, I need a motion, Ms. Gilliard,
okay.
on your, number 7.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to remove number 7 from the consent agenda to give us more time to discuss it.
Second,
Properly moved to second, any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor?
This is a roll call vote to remove the item number 7 from the consent agenda. Councilmember Rowell.
Excuse me. I need to make a correction because I said number 7, and there are 4 things on number 7. I want to remove Le Jardin and Jackson Estates. Those are the 2 in District 4 that.
Once we get it, Ms. Gilliard, we'll just talk about those 2, okay?
Pardon me?
I don't think you could, once it is removed, we can talk about those 2 once it get there, okay?
Okay, all right.
Go ahead, Mr. Clerk.
Yeah, and let me make that clarification. Councilmember Gilliard, do you want to remove from the agenda or remove to the regular agenda?
No, I want it removed period.
To the
Yeah,
next meeting agenda, Ms.
To
Gilliard?
the next meeting
Okay,
agenda.
that's what the motion is.
Yes.
Okay. Roll call
I'm
vote.
thinking, well, no, because I don't think it's clear. I think the request should be to move it to the regular agenda for today to address those 2 items that Councilwoman Gilliard said she did not have an issue with.
I don't understand what you mean.
Oh,
It's
It
4
needs to be
items
moved
on
to
that.
There are 4 items on there. I'm
Right.
removing 2, and the other 2 we can discuss, correct?
Right, so I'm saying they need to be moved to the regular agenda so they can be discussed.
please, ma'am.
Okay, that's true.
Council, you want to weigh in on that?
That's true.
That's how we've been doing it.
Council?
a point of order.
What's your point of order?
The maker of the motion should make clear on what they want to do. It doesn't matter how we've been doing it. It's not legal. It's not illegal to remove an item from the consent agenda.
Was not talking about that. We're talking about.
That wasn't the issue.
Excuse me. I had a procedural question, but you know what?
And I address you, the chair now.
Let's do this. What then with Ms. Gilliard, would you kind of go back and restate your motion?
Okay, I would like to make a motion to remove from the consent agenda Le Jardin and Jackson Estate plats until our next meeting, which is next month.
Okay. Properly moved in second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote, Mr. Clerk.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rowell.
Yes.
Councilmember Gumbs.
Yes.
Councilmember Willis.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard.
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid.
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
That item is approved unanimously.
Thank you very much. I need a motion from Ms. I think it's Ms. Willis.
Yes, I
15.
move that we remove the economic development, item number 15, resolution, from the agenda to allow time for the city manager to have offline conversations with city council.
Second.
Properly moved in second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rowell.
Yes.
Councilmember Gumbs.
Yes.
Councilmember Willis.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard.
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid.
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
That item is approved unanimously.
Before we go any further, I'm looking at the queue and I see Ms. Gilliard. Does that mean that your Novus is working?
Yes, it does. And I sent Mr. Adams a note telling him that it is. It's working.
Mr. Adams, next item, please.
Mayor, we have to approve the consent agenda. We just approved to remove items off. We did not approve the consent agenda.
That's why I asked for the next item. Give me a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move that we
I move-
accept the consent agenda for March 23rd, 2021.
With
Second.
amendments.
Who's the second?
Gumbs.
Okay, properly moved in second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Clerk?
There's a motion to approve the consent agenda with the two noted amendments. Motion by Rowell, seconded by Councilmember Gumbs. Councilmember Rowell,
Yes.
Councilmember Gumbs,
Yes.
Councilmember Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard,
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
That item is approved.
Okay. Ms. Willis, I see you in the queue. Is there something you want to say before we get to the next item?
No, I'm in the queue so that I can go ahead and remove, I'm requesting to remove something from the regular agenda and table it until we have some more work to do.
Okay,
with that.
let's, okay, thank you. I didn't know why you were there.
Yeah.
Let me, okay, go right ahead and let me hear your item.
It's the request, we want to remove, Councilmember Gumbs and I want to remove the request, council approval of resolution establishing media and communication requirements for the city communications department. We want to table that. We have some additional work we want to do with that with staff.
It's so table. We have that. Anyone else?
So I would like to ask that we remove item number 17 for further discussion and clarity from the council. I think there's some pieces that we still need to go through as far as vetting as it stands in its current state.
Okay. Let me ask.
Councilmember Gumbs, that's the same item that Ms. Willis just removed.
Oh, number 17?
Yes, the communication.
I'm sorry, number 23.
Number 23?
Yes, the
Yes, that's in
moratorium.
regards to the moratorium.
I second.
Wait a minute, I ain't got that far. Any more? Okay, number 17, that was Ms. Willis. Would you give
No,
me
Mayor, I would like to make a substitute motion. I was on
there's no
mute.
motion on the floor? Which one you talking about?
Oh, okay, so
What?
number 23, are we asking to remove it totally from the agenda? Are we going to discuss? Do we need to discuss? I'm confused on
Ms.
what we're
Gumbs,
doing.
Ms. Gumbs, would you restate your position, please?
So there are several key items, even speaking with the city attorney, that we will probably need to address. So if we could possibly hold it to the next meeting, or we can have some discussions in regards to it with the
And I'll
council,
second
but
it.
it's
you
just
did?
not in the current
So that's
state.
why
I
I
don't think
was-
it's ready.
That's why I was making a substitute motion, because I heard Councilmember Rowell said she was seconding
I'm
something.
sorry, I did not hear Councilwoman Morale, but you can make a substitute motion if you desire.
And I would like to make a substitute motion for us. There are certain items in this, you know what, that's fine. We can hold it to the next, will this be on the next regular agenda item?
That's correct.
That's
Yes.
fine.
All right, it's
That's
properly moved in second.
Thank you,
Any
Councilman
discussion?
Willis.
Okay.
Hearing none, Mr. Clerk, let's vote, please.
You're taking a motion just on item 23, sir?
That's why we're talking about, let me do that.
I have another motion, Mayor, when you get finished.
Well, let's get this one done.
Okay.
Since we're on that, Mr. Clerk, let's get a roll call vote on it.
There's a motion by Councilmember Gumbs, seconded by Councilmember Rowell to hold item 23 to the next regular meeting agenda. Roll call vote. Councilmember Rowell.
Yes.
Councilmember Gumbs, seconded by Councilmember Rowell to hold item 23 to the next regular meeting agenda. Roll call vote. Councilmember Rowell. Councilmember, seconded by Councilmember Rowell to hold item 23 to the next regular meeting
I
agenda.
think we're having a communication problem here, Mr. Clerk.
Yeah, it was Councilmember Khalid's, we muted his feed. So roll call vote, Councilmember Rowell,
Yes.
Councilmember Gumbs,
Yes.
Councilmember Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard,
Come back to me.
Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid,
No.
Councilmember Baker,
Aye.
Councilmember Gilliard.
Aye.
That item is approved 6-1 to hold to the next regular meeting.
Okay, if I'm, item number 17 was by Ms. Willis, am I correct?
Yeah, so Mayor, I have another item and I'm confused on where we are with this because I sent it through a legislative process and Mr. Pascal came back and said that a legislative comment period will conclude as of March 22nd, 2021. And it is for us to have a reconsideration of the zoning ordinance. But then on the agenda, there is a request for the approval to establish a policy to only hear zoning cases. Now, I know that this is part of the reconsideration of the zoning ordinance, and that is part of the reason why I want reconsideration of the zoning ordinance to make adjustments to the planning and zoning schedule that is currently in place. So is that what number 18 is supposed to be? And then there were some other issues in the zoning ordinance that some of my other colleagues have. Like, for example, the light uses. We were put it like this: we were told a lot of things the zoning ordinance was going to do to protect us from certain things, and it's not doing. And so that's why I want a reconsideration of the zoning ordinance that we voted on December 10th. And according to the legislative comment period, it concluded on March 22nd. So it should have been on this agenda.
Can I address that, Mr. Mayor?
Go right ahead.
Yes, Councilmember Willis, those were two different items. Item 18 is the item that you brought forth last month where you were seeking to change the voting structure for the zoning public hearings.
Correct.
The item that the comment period concluded on the 22nd has not been forwarded to our office from the city attorney's office as ready to be presented before the council. So we never received that as an item to be added to the agenda.
Because it says on here, legislative comment period will conclude as of March 22nd. And all the other items that made the agenda, they either have a comment period that concludes March 22nd or March 23rd, and they're on the agenda. Everything is on the agenda except this one item. And I don't understand why it's not on the agenda.
Mr. Adams, did you not say that it was a responsibility of the legal department?
Yes.
That's not how our process works, Mayor, but I am going to let.
I'm suggesting how the process works. I'm asking for a comment from him.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, the way our process works, the city manager or the city attorney has the authority to place items on the agenda. They submit items to us a week prior to the meeting being set. And that item was not forwarded by either party as of the drafting of this agenda.
Mayor,
I have a comment.
Mayor.
I will get you, Ms. Gilliard came up, then I'll get you, Ms. Willis, okay?
Okay.
Ms. Gilliard, go ahead.
Okay, so since it is not on the agenda and it is very, very crucial, and either the city manager or the attorney has to put it on the agenda, let's just ask them, when is it going to be on the agenda?
Well, point of order, Mayor. This is procedural. This is procedure issue, the point of order. Do you recognize me so that I can state my point of order, Mayor?
If it's procedural, yes, I do.
Well, it's procedural because according to the charter, the city manager and the attorney don't put items on the agenda. That's your job.
When it comes to
what I'm saying to you is what was stated.
There is a process that goes through several different changes before it even hits.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying.
That's not the job.
What I'm saying, I don't arbitrarily put things on the agenda if it's not going through the process.
Right, but the city manager and that's not what the charter reads. That is not.
So let's do this. I think my next speaker is Ms. Rowell. Thank you, Ms. Willis. Ms. Rowell, you're next up.
I was saying, I think the issue here is that even though it cut off before the last meeting, if the process is to set the agenda a week prior to,
Right.
it's beyond that period. So
Right.
naturally, it would be eligible to be on the agenda at the next meeting.
Right.
And so it just seemed this is procedural.
All right.
And I do like Councilwoman Gilliard's recommendation just to ask the staff when, given that now it's cleared, it would seem logical it would be our next meeting. But I would like clarification from the staff.
Okay,
the city
before
manager.
we do that, Mr. Khalid, go ahead.
Let me unmute myself. Okay. I wanted to, I didn't want to interrupt the flow of the conversation. Did the staff want to answer the question that Councilwoman Rowell asked?
We can do that before we talk to you, if it's okay with you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, is it all right with you, Mr. Khalid? We'll have that discussion. Okay, is the staff ready to answer the question?
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is Tammy Sattler-Jones, City Manager. I did ask the City Clerk to provide each of you with hard copies of the zoning ordinance just for this purpose, so that you will have an opportunity to identify which specific areas you want the staff for us to look into. Now, we can possibly have that ready for the next meeting, but I think we all need to have a conversation about it so we can be on the same page to identify specifically what areas you have concerns about. So I would encourage you, if you haven't picked up your zoning ordinance, the hard copy, that you please go by the city clerk's office to pick that up as soon as possible.
Okay, Mr. Khalid, go right ahead, and then Ms. Willis.
It's been a while, but we used to get maybe monthly, bi-monthly, a spreadsheet that showed all of the pending legislation and where it was in the process. Because I have legislation that I'm wondering about as well as a companion piece to this parking ordinance that is on the agenda for today. And so I don't want to belabor this point asking about it. Would it be possible to generate some sort of report that says, here are all of the pieces of legislation, here is where they are in the process, this is the estimated date that they will be on the agenda?
Okay, that sounds like a good idea. All right, is there a motion here? Oh, Ms. Willis, I'm sorry, you were next. Ms. Willis, we can't hear you.
I'm not going to belabor this, but we're not following the process. Even with Khalid mentioned, that was not a consistent process from the previous attorney. We had to consistently ask for her to provide that information to us. Right. And I am very familiar with the process because I sat down with Mr. Pasco and he walked me piece by piece with the process. And then I am going back to the charter. The charter does not call for the city manager and the city attorney to set our agenda. And when I look at other pieces of legislation that I sent through the process, the period ended around the same time. The communication part, the period ended the same time and stuff made the agenda. Councilmember, I did have a discussion with staff and I did lay out all my concerns in this ordinance. We could only meet, we could not be in a quorum. So that meeting took over an hour, and included in that meeting was Councilmember Reed and Councilmember Gumbs. So we have made it clear of our issues that are in this zoning ordinance that is not working for us or the community. I'm not going to belabor, but there has been a misstep, and we need to rectify how we get things on the agenda. Because as a policymaker, when I do my part, I expect my items to be on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Willis. And we'll end this. Ms.
I have one more comment.
Yeah, I'm about to recognize you.
Okay.
We'll have Ms. Gilliard and we'll end the discussion and hopefully get some type of a motion.
I just want to share that that document is 300 pages.
Yes.
I went through each and every page except the overlays in other districts. And I met with the consultant, I met with the director, went over things that I thought needed to be in there, and we agreed not on everything. We agreed on some of the things, but the last things I was not able to get in. So I was told that during the comprehensive plan process, that there would be the opportunity to get all of those other things in. So I felt that that was going to happen. So that's number one. But number two, I never did look at the final copy of it because it was never online. And when Councilwoman Willis sent out about the rewrite, she sent the final document. I immediately went to the Cedar Grove agricultural overlay. It looks nothing like what I agreed to. So now I have to go all the way back through all of it again just to see. And I have all of my edits and comments. And so it is something that we definitely need to look at, because guess what? If we had a moratorium right now, and then tomorrow we went right back to the same zoning plan, we would not have accomplished very much. And so I just want us to think about this, because we need to figure out how we're going to do it, but it really needs to happen.
Mr. Clerk, is there a motion? Mr. Clerk,
Yes, sir.
is there a motion on the floor?
I had the item number 17 to be tabled. Councilmember Willis, we didn't have a second as yet.
Oh, I'll second it.
Second.
Properly moved and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote, please.
Roll call vote to table item 17 to the next regular meeting.
No, it's not to the next regular meeting. She's tabling it.
But just table it, period.
Tabling it. We have some more work to do with that
Okay,
policy.
we'll just
so
table it. We'll just
Okay.
table it.
All right, understood. Roll call vote. Councilmember Rowell,
Yes.
Councilmember Gumbs,
Yes.
Councilmember Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard,
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid, Councilmember Khalid,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Mr. Baker,
Aye.
That item was approved to be tabled
Okay.
unanimously.
is there any other item to be voted on?
May I move that we approve the regular council meeting agenda Tuesday, March 23rd with the amendments?
Second.
Properly moved and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote, please, Mr. Clerk.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rowell,
Yes.
Councilmember Gumbs,
Yes.
Councilmember Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard,
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
That item was approved unanimously.
Okay, next item, please.
Next item is item 6, approval of city council meeting minutes. The regular meeting minutes from February 23rd, 2021. The work session minutes from March 9th, 2021. The public hearing, zoning public hearing minutes from March 9th, 2021.
So
Entertain a
move.
motion
So move.
of all.
Yes,
Second.
approve for approval of all minutes.
Second.
Properly moved and second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote, Mr. Clerk.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rowell,
Yes.
Councilmember Gumbs,
Yes.
Councilmember Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard,
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
That item was, those items were approved unanimously.
Next item, please.
Next item is public hearings. Number 4, request council approval of a request for alcohol license revocation, Pro Entertainment Enterprises Incorporated, doing business at South Beach.
Okay,
Police
staff.
Department.
Staff.
Yes, how's everyone doing? Good afternoon. As a result, I think everyone here is familiar with Pro Entertainment from a subsequent meeting, but as a result of some recent violent shootings that occurred at South Beach LLC, the City of South Fulton Police Department administratively and took emergency action to suspend the liquor license for South Beach Entertainment. South Beach failed to adequately supervise and monitor the conduct of employees when they hired an unlicensed security company to provide services to that particular business. And as a result of hiring those individuals during the last 12-month period, we received a high frequency of calls involving violent incidents to include 1 murder, 4 aggravated assaults, and other criminal activity, all of which stemmed from South Beach employees and security guards. Is it the wish of the body that I actually go through each one of the incidences that I just mentioned?
Yes.
Okay. So after hiring these off-duty security guards on 2/14/21, one South Beach employee security guard accidentally shot another security guard. The investigation revealed that at least one security guard, while armed, while performing security guard duties for South Beach, did not possess a valid registration for the Georgia Board of Private Detectives and Security. South Beach also had 2 other employees working as security guards, a total of 4, and none of those individuals had adequate training or credentials to operate in that official capacity. We allege that South Beach failed to do their due diligence while vetting this company, and they hired to perform these services. And as a result, these violent acts actually occurred. That was on February 14th. September 14th, 2020, South Beach had a homicide, which involved an employee waitress who had an altercation with a patron. The waitress got a weapon and went inside the club and got the relative of the owner. The relative then went outside with a gun and confronted the patron within 100 feet of the club. There was gunfire exchange between the 2 parties, and the owner's relatives were shot and killed. The incident occurred at 2:30 a.m. when the club was supposed to be closed and clear of all persons. Had the South Beach not allowed these patrons to continue and loiter within and around the club, this event could have been prevented. On July 15th, 2020, South Beach had 2 aggravated assaults where patrons were shot by South Beach security officers. The security officers identified himself as working for South Beach. The incident stemmed from a verbal altercation with one security officer and a patron who was told by security that they had paid for parking. The patron's vehicle had broken down. When the patron's ride arrived, he was shot by a South Beach security guard, and a fellow security guard standing by was shot as well. Later, after the incident, another South Beach security officer who was identified as the head of the security is seen on video slashing the patron's tires and smashing the windshield. On July 16th, 2020, police responded to a dispute between employees, which was a result of an incident above on July 15th. Employees stated she was receiving threatening text messages from an employee of the business who oversees the security portion of the club. Employees stated she did not feel safe going to South Beach without threats being made on her life from fellow employees. On July 17th, 2020, police responded to another call for police services for a dispute between employees over money owed to security officers. Employees identified as managers advised that an ex-security guard employee arrested in the incident mentioned above on July 15th, 2020, had been threatening to pay him and his team for working security over the weekend. All of these incidences, ladies and gentlemen, demonstrate a pattern of South Beach's inability to manage not only their employees, but their patrons alike. And for that reason, we're asking that the body revokes their liquor license.
Okay, thank you, staff. Mr. Clerk, all those who are speaking for the revocation, could you have them come up now? I'll open the public hearing, and those who are speaking for can speak now.
Okay. We have the one person who signed up to speak live has not joined the meeting yet, so I will begin reading the 5 statements that we received in support of the revocation.
Okay.
The first comment is from Cy Collins, who resides on Old National in District 5. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to comment on the matters pertaining to South Beach Nightclub and Burn Lounge. In my opinion, revoking the licenses for these businesses will be unfair and just wrong. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the wrong one. The next comment is from Rosa Robinson, who lives on Oak Bend Court in District 6. The licenses of these 2 clubs should be permanently suspended. We want to rid our community of the type of crimes that these clubs draw, placing our citizens in danger. There are too many clubs on Old National. Next is from Mrs. Phyllis Lewis. All these stores, businesses should not have a liquor license if they allow customers to sit in their parking lots to drink and cause disturbance and leave trash. Same goes for the clubs. Old National should have been cleaned up a long time ago. I am so desperately waiting on this change and hoping it's for the better of our communities. We need to make it our own and beautiful. The code enforcement, public works, and police needs to be more visible in our neighborhoods. Also, please get these 4-wheelers that the parents has brought for their children off the streets. Thank you, Maurice and Phyllis Lewis. Next, Mr. Clyde Sampson, who lives on Sable Chase in District 5. Please revoke the liquor license for South Beach Nightclub. We are trying hard to improve the quality of life in District 5, and this establishment is making us look bad. This last shooting inside the club was the last straw. We even had a community cleanup in their parking lot, and they didn't even send someone to help us. Not only revoke the liquor license, but take the next step and shut them down. And the last comment is from Charles Musgrave, who lives in District 6. I think that it's absolutely amazing that these measures are being taken. I think this is one of the safe ways to return the community to a safer place to live, and at the same time, lend to a possible reputation of a no-nonsense city. That completes the those in support of the recommendation.
All right, well, let's hear from the ones who are against.
Okay, those in support of the recommendation.
This is the ones who are against. You read the ones who are support. Or did I?
Yeah, no, actually we did the exact opposite. Those that I just read, they are against the business, and these are in support of the business.
Okay, got you. Go ahead.
Number 1, this is coming from Dr. Gordon Rowell, who lives on Springbox Drive in District 4. I would like to see the city council and mayor work with South Beach Club to put safety procedures in place while allowing the club to retain their liquor license. Taking away the ability for a business to operate is throwing away the money you need to pay your bills, thus putting additional tax burden on the citizens. Next is from Dr. Sonia Rowell. I would like to recommend working with South Beach to develop a safety plan for the club and reinstate their liquor license. Putting a business out of operation should not be a practice of the city. This action diminishes our tax base. Next is from Chrissy XS, who lives on Fox Hutton Lane in East Point. I have been a patron of South Beach well before I became a Georgia resident. I have experienced nothing but good times and have recommended this establishment to countless individuals in the county, city, state, and outside of the state as well. South Beach has given many people job opportunities and curated an enjoyable nightlife experience to Old National Highway, despite the reputation of the area. I believe the owners and staff do their absolute best to maintain a safe entertainment environment for adults, and maintaining their liquor license is a critical component to that. Please allow South Beach to prove once again that they are not the norm and wants nothing more to impact the community of South Fulton County, continuing to employ individuals who take care of their families every day and present a safe, enjoyable environment for their patrons. Next is from Alexis Marcial, who lives on Trenton Street in Atlanta. I frequent this establishment and would hate to see it close or lose its license. Although the area hasn't been the greatest, this establishment has created a great environment for the community. Next is Angelique Cummings, who lives on Honey Creek in Conyers, Georgia. I am vouching for Club South Beach, located at 5495 Old National Highway, College Park 30349. They've brought more jobs to the city of South Fulton inside and outside of Fulton. The owner spent time and major financing to renovate and elevate the look inside and out, where African-American consumers can be proud to be a part of. The location has a wonderful reputation for outstanding food and festivities. They also assisted in feeding the less fortunate during the peak of COVID-19, and I am a father first and peaceful protester marching with BLM. Next is Sherry Phillips, who lives on Oak Bend Court in Riverdale in District 6. South Beach needs the support that it has generously given to the community. We partnered with the Georgia New Project to encourage the youth to vote, holding voter registration, Kroger for trunk or treat, and toy giveaways for the neighborhood children. Provided holiday dinners to frontline responders at Grady during COVID, as well as daily lunches and dinners to APS students, a food drive, and collected warming items for the homeless. We don't do this for recognition. We do it for the community, but don't ignore the many good things that we have contributed to this community. South Beach is more than a nightclub. We host family dinner buffets, provided business options for others, and more. We've done everything asked, including hiring South Fulton Police Department officers, while we are less than 1,000 feet away from a precinct. At what point is the blackest city in America going to help a Black business sustain instead of hurt it and displace the 50+ employees, creating a strain on the economic development of the city? Next is Mrs. Mia Amerson, who lives in East Point. Pulling South Beach liquor license is basically like pulling my job right out from under me with no warning. I was a full-time employee at South Beach. This job covered my living expenses as well as my day-to-day needs. This was also a great center of support for me, as I am from another state. Everybody employed made sure, checked, and helped each other. Next is Jill Lindsay, who lives in District 7. The city of South Fulton approved to have a club in the same center where 4 other lounges are located. Why are you approving businesses, but the city does not provide support only after being cited? No one provides resolutions. This is not community friendly. Police are paid weekly to protect, patrol, monitor, and they pay every club lounge owner in District 5, 6, and 7 and invested over $350,000 in upgrades. Now the business has been impacted and 50+ employees and families are at risk of non-employment by the city of South Fulton. I would like to request an investigation before legal proceedings. The city of South Fulton already has enough lawsuits on file. Thank you for your consideration in this matter. Next is Melanie Melcor, who lives in Jonesboro. South Beach has been a positive environment for the area since they have been closed and reopened. As a worker, we make sure to take the proper steps for ourselves and the community. As a safe hazard, we love to do our jobs and keep customers happy. Got three more. Tiffany Sykes, who lives in Riverdale. I am a server at South Beach nightclub. South Beach has become family. We never have problems, fight, or anything. I've got fired from other jobs due to COVID. This is my only source right now. Please let us prove that the bad apples are gone. Next is Demario Baker, who lives in Lithonia. Good afternoon to whom it may concern. My name is Demario, and I am an employee of South Beach nightclub. We at South Beach have nothing in our hearts but positive energy and great camaraderie. I've been at this establishment for about 7 months now and have yet to see a patron visibly dissatisfied. The amount of enjoyment that I experience on a nightly basis from interactivity with not only our patrons, but the fellow staff is incomparable. If anyone was to ask about South Beach, 5 good things would before any negative thing comes out. We have given our all back to South Fulton. All we ask in return is for you to allow us to open back up with our license so that we may continue to do so. Thank you for your time to read this. And the last one was Cy Collins. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to comment on the matters pertaining to South Beach Nightclub and Burn Lounge. In my opinion, revoking a license for these businesses will be unfair and just wrong. The owners have police presence and security to deter such violence, and still they're penalized. It's unfortunate we as a community won't try to come up with a solution to address the real issue that has plagued the Black and brown communities across the country, which is gun control, mental health issues, firearms being sold on the Black market, and why has it been such a disregard for human life? I understand these topics are not popular among politicians, but it's a real concern. Shuttering these businesses will not put an end to crime and gun violence, but instead it calls for an increase in violence. This will narrow the options and oversaturate other businesses alike. For a city as large as South Fulton and to be 98% Black, the crime and offense doesn't compare to other cities with less Black people, but has seen their crime increase. We must remember South Fulton don't have any issue. The entire Atlanta metro area has an issue right now. We're dealing with an increase of inner city visitors from Chicago, Detroit, Ohio, Miami, and other places right now. I'm not saying all the people from these places are bad people. All I'm saying is culturally, they speak different languages, but they resolve issues the same, which brings us back to the real issue, gun control, not going out to have a good time. Thank you for your time. That completes the public comment for this item.
Okay, I'm going to close the public comment before I get to Mrs. Rowell and Ms. Willis. Staff, I would like for you to respond to one thing. Are you there?
Yes.
Would you respond to how you have, if any, how you have attempted to work with South Beach in this endeavor?
Well, we've had several different meetings with Mr. Robinson, the principal there. We actually came up with a list of considerations that we actually expected him to follow through on. And that's one of the reasons that we're actually back at this place, Mayor, is because of the shootings that actually happened after that. I understand the concern that people have, but at the same time, we have to make sure that our business owners are being responsible and they're doing their due diligence when they bring employees in that, quite frankly, aren't qualified to handle certain types of assignments. And so that can always translate into violence in our communities. And so we've met with Mr. Robinson on a number of different occasions. It wasn't just once. We've had several meetings. In fact, I've driven down there on Saturday at 2:00 in the morning, and pointed out certain things to him. We've discussed the security in and around his perimeter at least 6 or 7 times that I can remember that I was part of. So, you know, to say that we just up one day and decided to revoke his liquor license, that's not how that process works. And that's not how, you know, we conduct ourselves here.
Thank you, sir. I'm looking at the queue and Gilliard, were you in there?
No, I'm not in there.
Ms. Willis, I know you are.
Mayor, I would speak during discussion. I will wait till after a motion is made by Councilmember Reeves.
Okay.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor.
I'm about to get to you. Go ahead, Mr. Khalid.
We've heard from everyone except the actual club owners themselves. Do they get to speak at their hearing?
Yeah, I think they should. I'm sorry, Mr. Khalid, you're up to you. They should be able to speak. Mr. Adams?
Yes, sir.
Give the owners 2 minutes apiece like we give everybody else. Well, how much do they have left on that side?
Well, they didn't have any, so I would say, I would give them 8 minutes.
Let's bring them on. Thank you so much, Ms. Khalid.
The applicant, the owner, Mr. Lucius Crow, and his attorney, Mr. Kim Kimbrough, should be on the call.
Kim Kimbrough. Oh. Go ahead. How you doing, Kim?
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor. How are you?
Good. Go ahead.
Well, first off, thank you, Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of council, Chief Meadows and the other city staff. I appreciate what you are doing. Many of you know that I've worked in government for many years. I share your values and your desires. I am proud of what the city of South Fulton has done to stand up a well-run city in a relatively short period of time. I'm here today, however, to speak on behalf of Mr. Crow, Mr. Robinson, and the others who are involved in operating Club South Beach. I'm here to tell you that they are as troubled as are you by the events that have taken place. They do have somewhat a different viewpoint of the things that have taken place. And so we just want to make sure that we are heard on those differences of viewpoint. Number one, speaking about the fact that these incidents have involved employees. You know, we all understand that when we hire people, we hire them to do certain things. And in the scope of their employment, those things would not involve creating disruption and disorder, right? So to the extent that an employee abandons their job, goes out into the parking lot and engages in disputes, we would like for that not to be reflective of us, because we hold employees accountable for the actions that they take in the scope of their employment. And when they abandon that position, then we also consider that as something that they have done that's inappropriate. And so that's one point that we wanted to point out, that we would like for you guys to understand that we're on your side as it relates to holding employees accountable. As it relates to the security company and its licensure, my client, while maybe not having the most savvy as it relates to that business, did seek and did see a business license from the security provider that they had. And indeed, to the extent that the security company has been involved in these incidents, we have sought redress against the security company. And that's our attempt to hold them accountable, because we did not hire security to be a part of disruption. We hired security to minimize disruption and to make sure that we preserve a safe and clean environment for our patrons. And finally, you know, we really just wanted to speak to the fact that, yes, we have enjoyed working with Chief Meadows and the police department. We have hired police officers. We have cooperated with investigations. And to the extent that we can do better, we just want that opportunity. Part of doing better was actually retaining me as counsel, and I was literally just retained as counsel last evening. And part of my endeavor is not only to represent their legal interests, but to also help them bring to bear the sorts of expertise that are necessary to provide adequate security. I am aware, as Chief Meadows is aware, that there are requirements for trained staff and fully licensed staff. And I have made some recommendations on the fly to my clients to that effect. All of them have been well received. I've not received any pushback on behalf of my clients. And so, you know, with all of that being said and trying to jump into this, I understand your frustration. I understand your desire to revitalize and make Old National the jewel of the city of South Fulton. We support that. My clients support that. And we want to have the opportunity to do that, but we believe that at this time, a revocation of our alcohol license doesn't really support that aim and goal. And we understand your frustrations, but we just want to give you, we just want to ask that for that one last opportunity, knowing that there's
Kim, hold 1 minute.
4 minutes left.
Kim, hold on. Someone has not muted themselves. Would you mute yourself? Go ahead, Kim. We'll give you your time, man.
Yes, sir. And I appreciate it. And what I just wanted to say is that with the remaining 4 minutes, I did want to allow any of the other parties that are involved in ownership and management, if they wanted to speak on their desires, because I've spoken to that, but it's better if perhaps you all hear it from them as business owners and citizens of the city of South Fulton. I wanted to give them these remaining 3 minutes and 30 seconds to speak.
Okay, anyone else?
Yes, L.C. Crow.
Mr. Crow, go ahead.
Yes, sir. How you doing?
Doing good.
I want to say that the things that Chief Meadows have asked me to do, I've done all of them. I have got the police department. I've took them in control myself. And I put the signs up he asked me to put up. Signs on the door, menu on the door, time closing. Also, no lottering signs. We don't have any lottering signs out there. We do have lottering signs. We don't have no lottering problem. I'm up there plenty of time and making sure that they are doing exactly what I want them to do. Going to the inside, a lot of these things y'all said is not true, but so far we go along with what you're saying. That the parking lot now is being cleared off, and we have more space that we can park. I have had meetings with my staff inside and outside. And I told them make sure they wear their masks. I don't want to catch them without a mask. At the front door, 2 girls at the door, give them a mask if they don't have one. But we having 200 and 300 people in there. They're gonna, you can't walk around with all of them, and tell them, put your mask on, put your mask on. But I've done many things to try to do what I need to do. And I think that we should be given another chance, because the guy that got shot, the club was closed. Nobody was in there but the girls in the back, and they were taking in the money and counting up. It was after 2 o'clock, so the doors was locked. So, nobody else could be in the party that was shooting, was a security guard and one of the employees. They had an argument, and this is what happened. I can't think of what else I can do, because people are going to be people. We dealing with another generation. My generation, Bill knows, was old time generation. They're not there and do the things they want to do now. So I had to kind of change up to make ends meet. I couldn't just keep the older crowd, because they might come once a week. I can't live on once a week, but we are trying to do what we can do. We did a lot of stuff in the club, $300,000 or $400,000 of work in the club. It's brand new. It looks good, and we need another chance. People got guns, and if they got guns, they're inside, they're young, they think about going to the car and get a gun. We used to fight with our fists, but they fight with guns. And all the shooting now is happening because of the temper of people now. So I hope that you can give us another chance with the license. I'll appreciate it very much, and I can do whatever y'all want me to do.
Okay. I will close.
I've been using the city of Atlanta policemen outside Fulton County. We're using your policemen outside. I have not used no other security except the two on the door. And your security police department will be up there at the door. And we don't have anything outside. We haven't done anything but the shooting since you asked me to do these things. And I've done everything you asked me to do. And I can't see for you all just to take my license because this happened, because it's happening everywhere. And I appreciate you.
Thank you, Mr. Crowe. I will definitely close the public hearing at this time and entertain a motion.
I move that we accept the staff recommendation with the revocation of the license of South Beach.
So moved, second.
Properly moved in second. I have 3 people in the queue for comments. I think Ms. Willis.
Can you add me, sir?
Yes, sir. Ms. Willis,
Yes.
Ms. Gilliard, then Mr. Khalid, then Mr. Baker.
I move the previous question.
What?
I move the previous question.
Second.
The previous question stops all debate. Mr. Clerk?
Yes, sir.
Am I to assume that the previous question will override the debate, override the motion?
Yes, she's moving the previous question, which is tantamount to calling the question, which requires a separate vote.
Right. Let's it's been properly moved to second to move the previous question. Let's vote, please.
Councilmember Rowell,
Yes.
Councilmember Gumbs,
Yes, that's fine.
Councilmember Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard,
Ms. Gilliard?
Her phone, her item is on mute.
Let's come back.
Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid,
No.
Councilmember Baker,
Nay.
Councilmember Gilliard, did you wish to register a vote? If not, that item is approved to call the previous question. So the main motion is on the floor.
Any motion?
Actually, point of order.
Go right ahead, Mr. Baker.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. It requires 5 votes to move the previous question. So that motion failed.
How many did we have?
Point of
You only
order.
had 4.
Excuse me.
Got 4.
Go ahead, Ms. Willis.
We need the attorney to opine because Councilmember Gilliard has not registered her vote.
Well,
and so because she has not registered her vote, then it's my understanding.
Go ahead.
It's my understanding that when a person abstains, then if they don't register, I mean, she hasn't voted or anything, so therefore it goes with the majority. So we need the attorney to opine, if you don't mind.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. Are we really fighting so council members can't speak on this issue?
I mean, I moved the previous question.
I have. Everyone has.
And there's not 5 votes, so it can't go forward.
Excuse me, both of you. Mr. Hyman, you want to opine on that? Mr. Hyman.
Okay, there we go. Trying to get unmuted. From my understanding of the process is that the body is using the Robert's Rules of Order as it related to move the question. And I was not aware that, or at least not to my knowledge, that you need what we call more than your typical majority. I think that was one of the questions. And the next question, I believe, was a person.
That wasn't one.
The second part was about the abstention, is that there has to be a reason given under our charter if you're going to abstain, or in this case, not vote. It appears that you have 4 in favor of the motion and 2 opposed.
All right.
And then let me just make sure.
Mr. Mayor, can I speak?
Okay, there you go.
Just 1 minute. Go ahead, Ms. Hyman.
I'll just say, basically just indicates under the charter, under 3.15 voting, that no council membership abstain for voting except in the case of the conflict of interest, or providing specific explanation regarding why they're standing or
that.
have a conflict.
We understand that. So let me, before I go to Ms. Gilliard.
Mr. Mayor, I didn't abstain.
Ms. Gilliard, hold on, I'm coming right to you. Okay. All right. So right now, as I understand, what are you saying as opposed to the 4-2 vote? Are you saying the 4-2 vote holds or what?
According to your charter, it says a voting majority of the remaining council members shall be required for the adoption of an ordinance, resolution, or motion. It says majority.
Okay, Ms. Gilliard?
I didn't vote at all. I didn't abstain.
I didn't say you did.
And because I was hesitating because I didn't really know which way I was going to vote. And then you went to Mr. Reeves, and then you went to the next person and the next person, and then Councilwoman Willis started talking. So I never got an opportunity to vote or to do anything.
Yeah, you were showing that you were muted. That's why we kept going back to you. So go right ahead.
I'm going to vote no. And I'm going to vote no after hearing the plea from the owners, because I was all ready to say yes, but I didn't know which way I wanted to go, but that's what I'm going to do, and I hope everybody understands that. I just heard his plea, and I just was thinking if he got an opportunity to make a change or do something different, that something different might happen, and then
Point of order.
Nothing happened, then.
Mayor, point of order.
No, she has the floor.
No, I think she's voting wrong, Mayor. We're voting on previous question, Mayor.
And I thought she understood that.
No, she's voting on the actual whether revocation.
Ms. Gilliard, that's which is on the floor is the voting the previous question.
That's all I was trying to explain.
Which eliminates.
Oh, well, what was the previous question?
Clerk, would you give the previous question?
Yeah, the previous question was to support the recommendation of the police department to revoke the license. That was motion by Councilmember Reeves, second by Councilmember Willis.
And I just voted.
Okay, so you vote. So the vote for move the previous question is 4-3, Mr. Clerk. Is that what you're?
That is correct.
And based on the opining of the council, that's a significant amount to pass, right?
Correct, based on what the attorney just.
Okay.
Mr. Hyman.
Point of order.
That is incorrect, and I'm sorry. I do need our attorney to check his Robert's rules. I have the Robert's Rules newly revised 11th edition on page 2.
Mayor, you're letting people talk out of turn. I'm in the queue and I have called point of order.
Mr. Khalid, would you give me Mr. Khalid? Mr. Khalid, would you mind holding for just a minute? Okay, before you make your point. Ms. Willis, then Mr. Khalid, and then we'll go from there. Go ahead, Ms. Willis.
Mayor, I was trying to explain to you that Councilmember Gilliard is confused. She just voted on the actual measure. She voted on the previous question. The motion that is on the floor, the vote is on the floor is for us to, I called the previous question and the vote on the floor is now for the 3. She was on mute. She did not get to vote yes or no on the previous question. The previous question stops the debate. Then we're going to go on to whether or not we're going to oppose revocation.
It was my understanding in the latter part of the conversation, Corey, you correct me. Then I said the vote for the previous question was 4-3, assuming that Ms. Gilliard voted at that time. Am I correct?
She has not voted, Mayor.
Mr. Adams, do you hold her as a vote?
Yes, you stated to her that this was the vote for the previous question.
That's correct.
And she did not correct that.
So it's a 4-3 vote, Ms. Willis. Mr. Khalid, go ahead.
First, I want to note that we've spent more time discussing whether we're going to continue the discussion than the actual continued discussion would probably have lasted.
And your
second, that Robert's Rules of Order, the newly revised 11th edition, on page 200, line 24, number 7, clearly states that a previous question requires a 2/3 vote. If it fails to gain the necessary 2/3 vote, debate continues as the motion has not been made. 3 out of 4 or 4 out of 7 does not make 2/3, and so we do need to continue the debate.
Believe it or not, Mr. Khalid, I agree with you.
You actually agree with me, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Butler, Mr. Baker. And I think that's really where we stand. So, Mr. Adams, we do not have a significant amount of votes to overturn the question. So we're back at the original voting. Am I correct?
Right. The floor is back open. Yes.
All right. And the floor is open. The floor is not open. I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we accept the staff recommendation. I thought this is discussion.
This is discussion of staff recommendation. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Any further discussion?
Yes.
Go ahead, Ms. Willis.
And so, you know, our police chief stated that it does not take, we don't just get here overnight. And our residents who live in the city and who live in that community, they deserve better. And we have heard several people speak, and why I'm dismayed, several of these people don't even live in our city. But the people who did live in our city, we heard what they said. And they said they want Old National to be a respectable living place. They said they didn't want the violence. 3 shootings, over 18 code violations. You know, we're better than that. And as a founding father of this city who understand how the city came to fruition, we did not create a city to have clubs that incite gun violence. I am the one that's sitting on this diocese who was here, who was present when House Bill 514 was introduced to the General Assembly in 2013. So I know how we got here. And we could keep saying Black on purpose and vote Black. This is not about race. This is not about race. We didn't even come to fruition because it wasn't race when we came to fruition. It took a bipartisan supported bill to get that charter out of the General Assembly. This is all about people wanting a good quality of life, wanting to feel safe in their community, and not wanting to be in a community where there's consistent gun violence ensued from businesses. I support businesses. I support small businesses. I support African-American businesses. I support all businesses. But when you have a business that is constantly breeding violence in your community, I don't support that type of business. I 100% support our police chief. And for all those who said we didn't have a security plan, we didn't try to work with this business owner, that is the absolute untruth. We have given security plan after security plan. We have worked with this business owner. And every time we give a chance to this business owner, there's another shooting. There has been murders. The people have been shot. It's just not safe. It's just not safe. I yield.
Okay, we're going to have Ms. Gilliard, Mr. Khalid, then I'm going to call for the vote.
Oh no, I'm finished.
Okay,
I've remade up my mind.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Khalid, then I'll call for the vote.
Hold on. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
I do worry about violence in our city. I do think it's an issue. I do care about Black people, and I think that I think what I think about that, and I say that as someone who was born and raised here. I think, Mr. Edwards, you and I are the only person who've actually been on Old National or in the city of South Fulton for over 40 years.
Right.
And so I am concerned about the violence. However, I do just want to make sure that we are applying standards equally. And so I did just have a question for the chief because an issue was raised. Was a shooting at a gas station 2 days after the shooting at South Beach, and that gas station has had several deaths.
Point of order, Mayor.
What is your point of order, Ms. Willis? Hold on, Mr. Khalid. What is
This
your
is
point?
not germane. A gas station shooting is not germane to this motion.
Well, that's not a procedure. Go ahead, Mr. Khalid.
And so my question is, because there are two establishments 1 mile apart that have both had shootings with deaths, and one has had its liquor license suspended twice, and the other, as far as I know, in the history of city of South Fulton, has never had its liquor license suspended. I just had a two-part question. The first is, what is the test for suspending a liquor license? Like, after a shooting, or like, what is that test? And then secondly, it sounded like this liquor license was suspended both times before a hearing or a vote occurred because there were exigent circumstances. So my first question is, what is the test between one license being suspended and the other one not being suspended? And what is the test that rises to something being an emergency where we would suspend a license before a hearing?
So the quickest way to get my attention is if you start having shootings in your parking lots in and around your businesses. Every time a person's shot, I'm called and briefed by our staff. And the first thing that I look at is the circumstances surrounding the shooting. Now, essentially what you're doing is you're comparing apples and oranges when you talk about a gas station and an after hours nightclub or an after hours lounge, so to speak, because the criteria that we establish for both of those businesses is completely different. And so to that end, the one thing that we look for is we look for patterns of behavior, particularly associated with the employees of those businesses. So the gas station was two patrons that had nothing to do with any of the employees, got there, words were exchanged. We later found out that they met there on purpose for some illicit reason, and they wound up engaging in a gun battle. Well, we've had problems at that gas station before. We asked the gas station to put up cameras. They did that. Not only did they put up cameras, but they also put up a license plate reader. That license plate reader helped us to solve that murder within the hour. And so when we looked at the South Beach scenario, all of the violence stems from employee behavior. And so when we talk about trying to equate those two scenarios, we're really comparing apples and oranges here, because every one of the businesses that we've revoked their liquor license, the behavior stemming behind that came from employee behavior. Not patrons, but employee behavior. Now, is there a possibility that it will be patrons one day? Absolutely. If we find out that patrons are engaging in illicit activity within the business in the presence of employees, then we're getting back to the same management of the business itself. And so when we look at the one license that we suspended, it was employee behavior. When we look at the most recent one, employee behavior. And so what we're trying to do is make sure that people that are managing these facilities are doing it in such a way that's consistent with the standards. And that's why we're here today, because quite frankly, they haven't met those standards.
Okay. All right, Mr. Khalid.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Let's vote. Roll call vote.
Mr. Mayor, you moved me. I was last.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Baker. Go ahead. Then we'll have a roll call vote. Okay, Mr. Clerk?
Yes,
I forgot
sir.
Mr. Baker don't never show up on my thing. Go ahead.
Yeah, you called my name, so
Okay,
thanks.
go right
This
ahead,
ain't-
sir.
I appreciate you acknowledging me.
Go
I just
ahead.
wanted to ask a question in regards to who is responsible for the parking lots, just so my constituents, and everybody that's listening would have a better understanding. Because
So,
from my understanding, these things haven't happened inside of the establishment.
so what we look for is for managers to manage outside of their doors. In other words, if you have parking spaces out there, if your patrons are out in the parking lot, they become still your responsibility. Now, what I don't do for businesses is tell them what their security plan is going to be, because then you hold me accountable for its failures. And so if you're going into business, the responsible thing to do from not only a liability standpoint, but from a public safety standpoint, is that you put these measures in place to ensure that you have adequate security and a safe environment for your patrons in and around, outside of your doors and inside. So the business owners are actually responsible for that. Now, there are occasions when we talk about lighting inside of the parking lot. If businesses are paying a CAM, then our expectation is that there's adequate lighting out there. If there's not adequate security around, then we deal with the property owners on that piece of it. But in terms of managing your patrons outside of your doors, that's the responsibility of the business owners.
Right. And I guess my only concern, or my number one concern, is that there's 3 establishments in direct, correlation to that one, and they all share parking space. Also, there were several incidents when you went through almost a catalog of events that started all the way back since, I don't know, like, I know we brought this up in November. This was revoked and we allowed them to continue. But all of those events prior to were not discussed the last time this action took place. Is there any reason for that?
Well, actually, I thought that it was part of you all's packet back during that time. And that was one of the reasons I asked if you wanted me to go through each one of them, individually. And I think the answer was yes. And so we haven't had that many hearings regarding these liquor license revocations. And so it's my expectation that we're setting the standard for what you all want to see as we move forward as a body.
Okay,
right.
I'm clear. And then, like, that will bring me back to even the question I asked initially about the parking lot, because I don't know who owns the parking lot, and the way that the establishments are located so close to each other. Like, how far outside of their door are they responsible for?
Well, I mean, all the way through the parking lot. So I've gone out to that particular plaza at 2:00 in the morning and just sat in the parking lot on the opposite end. And I've watched where people are going in and out of the various businesses. And so, when you look at where they're coming from, and this is one of the reasons we have them to have, as a condition of their liquor license, they have to have operating cameras and they have to be recording inside of the establishment, so that if something does happen and we have to go back, if we see that person in the parking lot, then we could actually put that person inside of the business. So we have measures in place, but we expect them to measure outside of, or manage outside of their doors at least 100 feet or so.
Okay, Mr. Baker. Mr. Baker?
Okay,
right.
At least 100 feet. So I have one more question. Like, what were our police officers not working EJs there anymore?
Well, they work the parking lot. They don't actually work inside. What I've asked them to do is to allow them to get there early enough to manage the parking lot and late enough to make sure that everyone's gone. And that just hasn't happened in these circumstances. I think
So
one of the last,
they're not paying our officers anymore for security?
I don't believe they're still working there. I don't think they have anyone working there now. I'm not sure.
Is there
I have to,
any reason? I guess what I'm saying is, I mean, this is a difficult vote for me because I hear what everybody is saying about Old National and of course, safety is of the utmost importance. But if we're not providing the resources that we can, and I know that at one point we were working with them and we had police officers, not security guards, but police officers that they were paying to man those you know, their doors. And I think that not necessarily their doors, but their parking lot or their area. They were hired doing that extra job work, you know, as law enforcement officers often do. And I think that one of my only concerns are, like, I remember we set up and listened at this last hearing of about 18 plus of our officers being named who were working for this establishment at one point. And I guess if we're here now and our officers are no longer offered that opportunity, and these events have happened subsequent of, you know, them not being there, I think that there's a lot to say for how we can work or how we should try to attempt to work better with these businesses, because if it's not South Beach, it'll be something else. It'll be another entity. So we need to have some type of plan of action. And I do appreciate your statement that kind of recuses you or us, for that matter, when it comes to liability. But there should be something that can be at least a part of a protocol that everyone should adhere to. Maybe they need tag readers as well. I don't know, but I just don't want business owners and our constituents to think that we have an issue with your business and you're gone. You know, I mean, there's a lot of businesses on Old National and in our city that have been here for multiple years. They've had issues. We've worked with them and we've moved forward. I mean, I have the 50-yard line in my district and they've been here forever. And there have been incidents there. And I think that our government does a great job of trying to do that. And I would love to see us try to continue. I yield.
well, you said a lot, Councilman, but if I may say this, we're not the only law enforcement agency out there. They can hire the Fulton County Sheriff, they can hire the Fulton County Marshals as security. When we see things that's not being done according to our ordinance and our standards, I think it's putting our police officers in a very bad position where they're in this off-duty capacity, and then they're confronted with all of these ordinance violations. And so we're not going to put ourselves in a position where people are deliberately or not following through on our ordinances and so forth. And so if you demonstrate to me that you're not going to abide by our rules and standards, I can't allow my police officers to work there under those conditions and those circumstances. And so, you know, to that end, it's not unusual for me to cancel an off-duty job at a particular establishment when things like that occur.
So
you have 56 seconds. Go ahead.
That didn't happen.
So are they willfully unallowed to work there? Because I'm confused now.
No, I canceled the off-duty employment at South Beach.
When?
Those of you who are I won't say outsiders, participants from South Beach or whatever, we have closed the public hearing. You cannot speak at this point. Okay, go ahead. I'm gonna allow you, Mr. Baker. You still have some time.
Well, I think the chief answered that our officers don't work there anymore.
Right.
So,
okay, Mr. Adams, would you restate the motion and call for the vote, please?
Yes, sir. This is a roll call vote.
Restate the motion first. Restate the motion.
A motion by Councilmember Reed, seconded by Councilmember Willis, to approve the request for alcohol license revocation for Pro Entertainment Enterprises doing business in South Beach.
Roll call.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rowell.
Yes.
Councilmember Gumbs.
Yes.
Councilmember Willis.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard.
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid.
I'm going to abstain.
You gonna what?
Abstain.
Okay, give me your reason why.
I have some due process concerns.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
Councilmember Baker.
I abstain as well, Mr. Mayor, and I
Okay.
would like to state that my abstention, I would, if you'd like me to continue to share, it may be a liability to the city.
Okay, that's all you need to say then.
Okay.
All right. Now, what was the outcome, Mr. Clerk?
The revocation was approved 5-2, 5-0-2.
Okay. Next item, please.
Next item, item 5, request council approval of an alcohol license for Andy Food Center Incorporated doing business as Sam's Supermarket located at 3840 Stonewall Tail Road, Atlanta, Georgia, 30349.
Yeah.
Yes, Mayor, the Andy's Food, they actually met all of the requirements to receive a liquor license, and we present their application to the body for consideration.
Okay. I'm gonna open the public hearing. Anybody for or against?
Yes, sir. We have one, we received one comment in opposition to the application.
Okay.
This comment was sent by Jacqueline Winston, who lives in South Fulton, 30213, District 4. She states, any liquor store needs to be in a non-residential area. This location has already attracted the attention of those eager to harm one owner who was murdered. Find a larger strip mall area. Please don't relegate liquor stores to this area where homes and children come for recreation. The store that is already there is not well maintained and the entire corner is not inviting. A liquor store will make the area even less attractive. What happened to the plan to create a roundabout? This is a high traffic area needing city planning to create a safe intersection for vehicles. The filling station is already a blight in the area. Please do not put a liquor store there. That completes the public comment received in the
Okay,
clerk's office.
I'm gonna close the public hearing. I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I
Mr.
move,
Mayor?
Go ahead, Ms.
Mayor,
Willis.
this is my district, and I move that I would like to bring this back at the next regular council meeting because I want to have an opportunity. This is my Clintondale community, and I share this corner with Councilmember Gumbs and Councilmember Gilliard, and we have had a lot of challenges with the store and that corner. And I just want to make sure, my question is, Chief Meadows, have this store, is this the first time the store has had a liquor license?
First, before you go into discussion, is your motion what it is so I can get a second? And then we go to discussion.
I second it.
Okay, properly moved and second by Ms. Gilliard. Discussion, go ahead, Ms. Willis. and
Chief
then
Meadows,
Ms. Gumbs.
yes, Chief Meadows, is this the first time this store has had a liquor license?
I think they've had one before, but they just changed ownership, Councilwoman Willis. I have Major Johnson on. I believe she can actually confirm it. Yeah, she just sent me a text saying that they changed ownership, and that's the reason for the application.
Okay, I would like to give an opportunity for Councilmember Gumbs, Councilmember Gilliard, and myself to, take this information back to our Clintondale communities and seek some feedback. And also, I would like to go, I like the facelift, but I haven't been inside the store. So I would like to go, visit the owner, because we have had a lot of issues, and the resident is correct. We did have a murder at that gas station. It's a murder that I will never forget. And the community is still shaken over what happened at that gas station. So
Okay.
let's give us, I'm not saying no right now. I'm just saying, we need to go back to our community and get some feedback.
Okay, Ms. Gumbs, let me get you and then Mr. Adams, pardon me, but I need to go back. Is the owner of the store here? Is the owner of the store here? Okay, Ms. Gumbs, go ahead.
So, Chief, just so I'm clear, is this for beer and wine only, or is this for other liquor?
It's for beer and wine, yes.
Beer and wine only, which I believe the previous owners had that same.
Yes, they did.
I agree with Councilwoman Willis. I think that we just probably need to just chat a little about this more.
Okay. All right. Would you restate the motion for me, Mr. Clerk?
Yes, a motion by Councilmember Willis, seconded by Councilmember Gilliard to hold this item until next month's meeting.
Roll call vote, please.
Call vote, Councilmember Rowell,
Yes.
Councilmember Gumbs,
Yes.
Councilmember Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard,
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
The motion to hold was approved unanimously.
Next item, please.
Next item is public comment.
All right. Now we have several people in the public comment. I think we can just about get them all with the 2-minute limitation. Am I correct, Mr. Adams?
Well, I don't know if we'll be able to get them all, but we'll definitely be able to get the majority.
Okay, so those are who we have will stick kind of close to the 2 minute. We'll get as many of them in as we can. So go ahead, Mr. Clerk.
Yes, sir. Just setting the clock. Okay, we have several citizens who have requested to speak live in the meeting. I will go down the list, and if you are present, please unmute yourself. You will be allowed 2 minutes, and please state your first and last name and your district if you reside within the city. First is Valerie Swales. I don't believe that she made it into the meeting.
Okay.
The next three persons that signed up have indicated that they have removed their request for public comment. That's Marcus Coleman, Dr. and Mrs. Rowell. Next is Temperance Robertson.
Okay.
Ms. Robertson is not present. Next is Joseph Santoro from Atlanta. And I believe he is in the call.
Okay.
Yes, sir. How's everybody?
Doing well. How are you?
Doing very well. Well, my name is Joseph Santoro. I'm with the Council for Quality Growth. We are a not-for-profit trade association representing the development and growth industry with over 300 companies comprising of architects, attorneys, contractors, developers, engineers, all with a vested interest in quality growth and development in the metro area. With the Council for Quality Growth, respectfully opposes the residential development moratorium, the 180-day moratorium on residential development. We respectfully request a stakeholder input to be considered and, appreciate the tabling of this measure for further discussion. And with that, thank you for considering those recommendations. We did send out a letter as well to go a little bit more in detail, but for time's sake, just appreciate that. And the council serves as a resource and it's here to serve the city of South Fulton. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Santoro. Mr. Clerk?
The next speaker is Mr. Kodeye Woody from Atlanta. And I believe he is in the call as well.
Last name, Mr. Woody.
Mr. Woody. Okay, evidently he's not in the call. At this point, I'm told he dropped off, okay?
All right.
I will read as many of the comments that we received in the next 27 minutes. Valerie Swales from Black Diamond Drive in District 7. There's an overwhelming population of buyers in the Atlanta market and especially the South Fulton area. To restrict the permitting for 30 days, let alone 6 months, would be catastrophic. And it stifles the growth and welfare of our South Fulton community. Next is Dr. Francis Rowell, who lives on Springbox in District 4. It is irresponsible to give a blanket secret decision-making power to city manager to make decisions for the citizens of South Fulton. This action is the beginning of a serious pathway to a lack of integrity and unethical behavior. No one should have the power to make decisions for the citizens without their knowledge and input. Next is Dr. Gordon Rowell, who lives on Springbox in District 4. I denounce giving authority to the city manager to make decisions and sign documents without the knowledge of the citizens of the city of South Fulton. I also would like to see the city council and mayor work with South Beach Club to put safety procedures in place while allowing the club to retain their liquor license. Taking away the ability of a business to operate is throwing away the money you need to pay for your bills, thus putting additional tax burden on the citizens. Next is Mrs. Gloria Williams in Cole Lane, District 2. To the mayor and members of the city council, city manager, city clerk. The current process and schedule for removing trash from the streets and public area of the city of South Fulton is not effective. Anything less than daily trash pickup is a waste of taxpayers' money. Residents would like to see the city budget for and implement more frequent trash pickup for every district. We are relying on our elected officials to come up with an effective solution. Residents are very dissatisfied with the amount of trash on our streets. Higher fines should be levied and litter violations need to be strictly enforced, like the school zone speed violations. In levying and enforcing the fines, the increased costs could be paid by the violators. The trash contributes to lower property values, crime, and a lack of desired commercial development. Next is a statement by Dana Norris, who lives on Shamrock Drive, I believe in District 4. I pray all is well with you and your family. I'm sending this because I was recently notified of the request of council approval of a resolution authorizing the city manager and or her or his designee to sign non-disclosure agreements for economic development projects. Being a current active duty Army officer who lives in the city of South Fulton, I'm very concerned. I know how NDA work, and I am wondering, as a taxpayer in the new developed city, why is this necessary? It gives the notion of not informing the public of future development plans. The area has changed, not in a good way, since being made a city. Many of us moved to this location because it was not in the city or city limit and avoided city taxes. Since then, Union City has moved beyond South Fulton Parkway, building warehouses, trucks more than 2 axles, destroying the intersection roadways and roads, and increased traffic. All the reason why I selected this location. Now plans being made with an NDA. I would like to request a motion for this NDA to be removed from the table indefinitely and adopt voting from all citizens to determine the necessary growth and development plan for the city. Next is Mrs. Rhonda Simpson on Maltese Drive in District 3. Permit moratorium. As a real estate agent and broker who has lived in the city of South Fulton for 15 years and selling homes for 18 years, I understand the city's dilemma regarding builders. A 6-month moratorium would decimate on-site agent as well as general agent business in the city. We do not get paid until the contract closes. Clients currently under contract will be negatively impacted as they are waiting on permits to start their homes. While I understand that something needs to be done, I feel that the city should meet with agents as well as on-site agents to come up with an amicable solution. If this decision is approved, you will literally stop us all from making money and feeding our families. Yes, builders will leave and some will stay, but the bottom line is that the clients will suffer and we agents will as well. Our livelihoods are at risk and we need to be able to feed our families. Next is from Mrs. Jewel Johnson in District 1. The consent agenda is a block vote without discussion. The public will not hear the details. This means that economic projects will be done without council and citizen. You don't have any input, and economic development is the heart of the city. Please have number 15 on the consent agenda removed for discussion. Don't take away our rights. Next is Mrs. Brenda Marshall, who lives on Spicewood Court in District 6. She states, continue funds for blighted structures. Next is Mr. Richard Allen, who lives on Will Creek Circle in District 3. As a citizen of our city living in District 3, when I see an item on your consent agenda for council to take action on an administrative request for city council approval of a resolution to authorize the city manager and his or her designee to sign non-disclosure agreement for economic development projects, it disturbs me. I am in opposition to any such move for this to happen. We as public citizens have a right to know about what projects are coming to our communities. This bypass citizen input and cannot stand. It needs removing from the agenda. As a citizen of District 3, when I see an item on the consent agenda for the council to take action, he stated the same. I am in opposition to any such move for this to happen. We as citizens have a right to know what projects are coming. Okay. Next is Mrs. Antoinette Clacken, who lives on Elva Drive in District 1. She says, please have number 15 on the consent agenda removed for discussion. Don't take away our rights. Next is Mr. Chris Knight, who lives in Fayetteville, Georgia. My family and our company have been building new homes in South Fulton since 1999. Currently, the new home market has a shortage of homes available, which is pushing up prices and threatening affordability across all buyer segments. A moratorium will make this problem even worse. In the city of South Fulton, it takes an extended period of time to get development permits as well as building permits, which delays new home inventory even further. This concern cannot be understated. For instance, at our new Camp Creek Village community, we have a waiting list of 300 people who are interested in purchasing. These are $400,000 homes. A moratorium will only aggravate this shortage of new homes. I would encourage the council to organize a task force made up of city staff, as well as local builders, developers, to develop solutions to address the concerns that it may have. Please consider opposing a moratorium at this crucial time while we can work together to properly address concerns. Thank you. Next is Juliet Rankins, who lives on Grassy Trace in District 4. Please have item 15, the consent agenda, removed for discussion. Don't take away our rights. Next is Temperance Robertson, who lives on Zoya Court in District 2. My name is Temperance Robertson, and I work as a realtor. I think I read that one, actually. I think that's a duplicate. Next is Rosalind Woolfolk, who lives on Birdie Lane on District 1. Please remove item 15 from the consent agenda for discussion during this very difficult time in our nation and communities. I am deeply saddened that many of the people that we have elected to represent our best interests have resorted to any means necessary to suppress our voices in the area of economic development, which is the heartbeat of our city. Please do not support this effort to not only block citizen input, but to block input from council. This agenda item most assuredly does not support resident engagement, which supposedly is a top priority for this administration. Since the agenda is the responsibility of the mayor, I am personally asking the mayor to remove this item. Next is from Stephen, who lives in 30349, District 6. This demolition fund is very much needed for the city of South Fulton. Now it's time to address and work toward a zip code for the city of South Fulton. It's about time that we step out of the shadow and stop using College Park zip code and all the 3049 baggage and stand up as the city of South Fulton. Next is Mrs. Stephanie Hudson, who lives in St. Paul in South Fulton, Georgia, 30331. We are currently in a seller's market where inventory of homes is at the all-time low, not only in the city of South Fulton, but all over the country. It is currently taking about 6 to 8 months for a person to get in their new construction home, and to put a moratorium on new construction will make it longer for buyers. The city of South Fulton is a prime location for housing on the south side of Metro Atlanta because of its accessibility to the airport, downtown Atlanta, to name a few. I agree that we should not have these new construction builders that build homes to rent, such as Reza Built and American Homes for Rent, that discourage people from becoming homeowners. However, we can help to promote builders that want to come to the city of South Fulton to build single-family homes. As a realtor, I live and work in the city of South Fulton. I see the need for housing in all price ranges and would not want to take people out of the city of South Fulton to other cities. Georgia is one of the top states where people are relocating because they can work remote. City of South Fulton should not miss out on the growth happening in Metro Atlanta. Due to the housing being a top priority, there may be other options to consider before voting to stop new construction on single-family homes in the city of South Fulton. Thank you for the opportunity to voice my opinion. Next is the Codier Woody, who lives in Atlanta. He's with the Georgia Home Builders Association, and he states, GAHBA respectfully opposes any moratorium on residential development and submits the following recommendations for consideration. 1, before approval of the resolution, we recommend that a roundtable with stakeholders be conducted to discuss details of the proposal and how it will operate in practice. 2, during the 180 days, if any text amendments or other changes to the zoning ordinance are proposed, we request that the drafts be provided to the building and development industry for input. The association can assist in gathering a roundtable of builders and developers. Having the public and private sectors work together to create smart directives for growth and development has proven to be both effective and efficient. Builders and developers have a significant investment in the city of South Fulton and a vested interest in the future success of the city. 3, clarification by the council that any projects that are already in progress will not be stopped, impeded, or delayed in any way. If an application for zoning has already been submitted, the project will be allowed to continue development and building. A complete stop of current projects under development would be detrimental to the housing supply in the city of South Fulton and the economy of the city. We encourage the council to not enable the moratorium to have any effect on approvals of development plans previously approved by the city, nor affect the issuance of permits for site plans that have received final approval by the city. 4, by imposing a new moratorium just 4 months after the conclusion of an 18-month moratorium, the city of South Fulton is sending a message that it is not open for business, not open to residential development, and not welcoming to new development and continued economic growth in the city. The city of South Fulton is attractive to residents, and the demand for new homes is at an all-time high. Allow the home builders to build new communities and new homes for your future residents, rather than placing blanket barriers to all residential development. A 6-month moratorium will only serve to force these future residents to cancel contracts and seek housing options in other jurisdictions. We strongly encourage the city to work with the residential construction and development community in planning for and designing positive and sustainable residential growth and a high quality of life for city of South Fulton residents. Thank you for your serious consideration of our comments and recommendations. Next is Teresa Berry, who lives in District 1. If the goal of tickets in school speed zones is to slow traffic, then the speed limit signs should be flashing. Flashing lights grab attention far quicker than a mere sign. Citizens should not be ticketed in school zones if the lights are not flashing. That is especially unfair to citizens who are unfamiliar with the area or who rarely pass through it and are mostly oblivious to the school being there. This is especially true since schools have been closed due to COVID. Please help citizens by flashing lights during speed limit times in school zones. Next is Denise Brew Clopton, who lives on Linfield Court in District 3. I am against using $1 million collected in school zone traffic fees to buy a military tank-like equipment for the police. What I am for is to continue demolishing eyesore property, cleaning up the city, including blighted areas, speed bumps, gateway entrance signs like Union City has done, which looks nice, another park with a walking trail, small lake for fishing, repairing and repaving streets, etc. These are the things that will be beneficial to the look of the city as well as the residences. While the police and deterrence of crime are important, let's do something that will be seen and used by the majority of our citizens. Thank you for the opportunity to provide my input. Next is Willie Miller, who lives on Bethlehem Road in District 4. Speeding cameras are active in school zones to slow down traffic and for pedestrian safety. It was stated in the March 9th work session that over $1 million has been collected. Will all of those funds be used for pedestrian safety? It has been mentioned there is currently consideration being given to purchasing an armored truck with a portion of those funds. I do not support spending even a portion of those funds on an armored truck. Next is Glenda Collins, who lives on Morning Creek in District 5. In reference to item 15, I am in total disagreement, and this should be left to the Development Authority. More service needed to pick up trash on streets, status of bridge on Stacks Road, improve traffic area. Next is Richard Snellings, who lives on Loch Lomond Trail in District 1. It's no secret that I did not vote for this city. We were just fine before we were forced into this catastrophe. I know city leadership is tired of hearing about Cascade Road. Well, guess what? We are tired of having to drive all over America because years later, this city still does not have it together. We have heard excuse after excuse as to why the road is still closed, not weeks or months, but years later. The way the city has managed this is a hot mess. I emailed city officials for an update. I get no response. The community discusses it on Nextdoor, and we get excuses and comments like, these things take time as a response. You all are so concerned about bringing these warehouses and industrial buildings that we do not want. We told you all time and time again about this, and it's apparent that you all do not care. But back to Cascade Road. I put a poll on Nextdoor, and as of 3:38 p.m. on today, Monday, 46 people voted, and 4% of those who voted believe the city will meet its new deadline, whereas 96% of those polled believe the city will miss it. That says a lot about the leadership of this city when the tax-paying constituents don't even have confidence in your ability to carry out basic functions of running a city. 4 years into this city, and this baby still ain't cute and never has been. Y'all need to do better because not only is this embarrassing, but it's ridiculous. Shaking my head in disappointment at the leadership of this city. And the last comment that I have here is from Charles Mitchell on West Stubbs Road in District 4. I am very disappointed. It is apparent that the city council is either unaware or unconcerned why the residents of South Fulton fought to become a city. Some of the reasons we spent our time and money to become a city was for local control and transparency. We voted to elect representatives to express our wishes as to how our tax dollars will be spent, for what financial obligations we will be liable, and how our community will be developed. Item 15 on the agenda eliminates public input through our elected council on these matters. I understand the need for confidentiality in some matters. That is why the city has executive sessions. If the problem is with information leaking from these meetings, that is a different matter. Item 15 must be voted down in order to avoid another brick in the foundation of eliminating public input into the direction of our city. And that completes the public comment.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clerk. Next item, please.
Next item is council comments.
Council,
Yes.
2 minutes, please. Go ahead, please.
Oh, are you going in order?
We're going from 1 to 7.
Okay, thank you. For those who did not get this is Councilwoman Rowell, for those who didn't get an opportunity to participate in the District 1 Town Hall meeting that was held on Tuesday of this week, you can view that on my Facebook page. The recording is there. In addition, for those who may not be aware, the equipment, the workout equipment is being installed beginning this week at Trammell Crow Park. For those who have inquired about the development or the construction they see at Fulton Industrial and Camp Creek Parkway, that's a streetscape that is being funded through the Fulton Industrial CID. And those are my only updates.
Thank you.
One more.
Yes.
Carmack Home Furnishings grand opening at Sandtown Crossing is Friday at 1 p.m.
Okay. District 2, Councilwoman Gumbs.
Hi, I really have limited comments. I will be sending out a newsletter after this meeting, but I did want to mention that we will be having a ribbon cutting that will be happening, one moment, at the Sandtown Crossing of a new business that we are supporting for one of our residents. And that is the Carmack Home Decor. The save the date again is Friday, March the 26th at the Sandtown Crossing Center at 1 p.m. Come out and support our residents and their small businesses helping our city. But I will be sending out my newsletter that will have any district updates as of tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman 3, Ms. Willis, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you to all the residents who participated today virtually. Our chat and participation are over 100 participants. So that is an all-time high since we have been virtual. Thank you for everyone who came out and supported the Feeding Our City initiative at Clintondale United Methodist Church. We were successfully able to get over 920 boxes of food out to residents. And we will be continuing with our Feeding Our City initiative. And I would like to thank Mayor and Councilmember Gumbs for working with me for the Easter giveaway. It is a must that you register. So please go out and register. Everybody who drives through will receive. We will be promoting and educating people on the plastic ban. And so everybody will receive a recyclable grocery bag and also reusable straws to help promote the ban on plastic bags and straws in our city. I would like to end by saying that, I understand developers have to make money, and I understand real estate agents have to make money, and I understand there is a shortage when it comes to housing. But the most important thing to me as an elected official is that we protect the quality of life of the residents, and we make decisions in lockstep with the residents. So the shortage housing, the urgency for shortage housing is not really our emergency. We have to make sure we get quality development and decisions are being made in lockstep with residents. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Willis. Ms. Gilliard.
I am holding bi-monthly community meetings for all of the communities in my district to get updates and to provide information. I think that is extremely important, and I'm really going to do it all year, but for the first 6 months, I'm going to, for those that have been in existence for some time and really need a lot of help, they're going to be the focus first. And then there are a couple who have recently turned over, and that is always a big undertaking for people who have never been part of an HOA and don't really or might not know all the ins and outs of all of that. So those things are really, really important. But what I am really excited about is on March 31st, I'm having a zoning meeting, and the czar of zoning, Mr. Harold Reed, will be presenting. I think that it is very important for citizens to really know the basics of zoning, really, because it's as simple as zoning determine what goes on the land and where it goes. That is the heart of development. And I'm really glad, and I want to jump on the moratorium just for a second, because
Yeah, 20.
if we passed the moratorium today for 180 days or 2 months or whatever amount of time, and we have the same zoning, we're still going to have a problem, because the developers are going to come and they're going to use that, and believe it or not, they follow the zoning carefully unless there's something that they want that's not in it.
Thank you, Mr. Yard. Time is up. Thank you, Mr. Yard.
But anyway, thank you.
All right, District 5, Mr. Reed.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Mayor. And so just want to give you a few updates here as everybody know that the target is coming down. So that's going to spur a little bit of economic growth. It's not in our city, but it will affect our city. The big thing that I have is coming up on Thursday, April the 22nd, 2021 from 9 to 2 is the Georgia Environmental Justice Education and Awareness Symposium. I'm working on that with State Representative Mandisha Thomas, and we will be discussing from environmental and public health, from legislative updates to livable micro communities, to smart growth, and some municipal footprints. And it's free, virtual. It's going to be a virtual symposium, free to the public. Our keynotes, we have 4 of them actually. Congressman David Scott, Dorothy Jean Tillman, genius. And so that's the young lady who graduated with her master's degree at 14, environmental sciences. We have Gary Black, agricultural commissioner, and Gary Harris is the president of Sustainable Solutions. So it's going to be a packed event filled with education and some takeaways that you'll be able to have with you going into the future. And so, and I just want to say too, is as long as I'm in this seat, I'm going to do the best that I can do to represent the constituency of District 5. And I ran on a safe and clean city. And I'm gonna say this, and I'm a product of business, small business. I'm a direct product of it. And I'll do everything in my power that I can to help small businesses. And I'm just gonna leave it right there and not correct my other colleague over here. It's not just Khalid and the mayor. I'm actually from Grady Hospital, came down and was raised in Point Ridge. So this is very much my home and very much where my heart is. And you know, we're not gonna be the same, but we can be a new version. And that new version comes with standards.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. District 6, Mr. Khalid, go right ahead.
And my apologies, Mr. Reed. We did actually go to Old National Christian Academy together back in the 80s. I want to give a big, well, first I just want to respond to some things that were said. I want to agree with Miss Ashanti in the chat that I too also still believe in our city and all that we can be. And like all families, we're going to fight, but I still believe in us and what is possible. I want to give a big shout out to the Code Enforcement Department and the Community Development and Regulatory Affairs, otherwise known as Planning and Zoning, for demolishing our first blighted property. We have one coming up in every district. I spoke with our interim CFO, Ms. Nina Robinson, and we worked out the confusion that was had around whether or not the fund was going to continue. It is definitely going to continue. So thank you all. And thank you to the council. I think that this is just one of the most amazing things that we have done. And I want to give a special shout out to our communications department, who works day and night to make sure that there are as many positive stories about our city as there are negative stories. And we know that there's an infrastructure in society that works to tell us the worst things about ourselves, but we have people in our city that are working to counter that narrative. You can find out where the next blighted properties are going to be by visiting khalidcares.com or just texting the word Fulton to 33777. South Fulton forever.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Khalid. I think I'm down to Mr. Baker now, right?
Yes, sir, you are. Thank you for acknowledging me. I really appreciate it. And I would like to say greetings to everyone in District 7 who's on to our council meetings. I am still soliciting, I think, 2 more attorneys. I have attorney Mawali Davis signed on for our attorneys for our Reparations Alliance for the city of South Fulton that are working with trying to find the solutions for reparations in our city. I also would like to share that Evanston, Illinois recently became the first in the U.S. to pay reparations to qualifying Black households. Each qualifying household receives or may receive up to $25,000 for home repairs or down payments towards properties. And, it's things like this that these attorneys will be assisting. So please shoot me an email, mark.baker@cityofsouthfultonga.gov. If you're an attorney, civil rights attorney, and you want to be a part of this historic initiative, us being the first in the state of Georgia to have such a legislation. Also, I would like to let everyone in District 7 know that we did, as Councilman Khalid said, we started on the blighted property, and we had our first blighted property demolished on yesterday morning. I was out with individuals at 8 o'clock yesterday morning on Old Jonesboro Road, and we're happy to announce that, and we look forward to continuing that process. It was also found in my newsletter, and if you don't have my newsletter, you can reach out to me at mark.baker at City of South Fulton ga.gov to sign up for that. I have more information, more updates.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Baker. You just me. Ms. Clerk, next item, please.
Next item is item 10, consent agenda, with the noted removals from the approval of the agenda, which was item 7, removing numbers 1 and 4,
right,
as well as removing item 15.
Okay, that was Miss Gilliard.
Well, no, those are removed from the agenda until the next.
The next meeting. Okay, got you. Yeah. Okay, I got you.
So we just need a motion to approve.
All right.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the removed items.
Second.
Properly moved and second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, roll call, please, Mr. Adams.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rowell.
Yes.
Councilmember Gumbs.
Yes.
Councilmember Willis.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard.
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid. Councilmember Khalid.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
Item was approved unanimously.
Okay, next item, please.
Next item is item 18. Request council approval to establish a policy to only hear zoning cases at zoning public hearings on the second Tuesday of each month at 6 p.m. and to vote on the same zoning cases at their next regular council meeting held on the fourth Tuesday at 4 p.m. Councilmember Willis, this was held at the February 23rd council meeting.
Councilwoman Willis, I entertain a motion.
I move to approve this motion.
This agenda item.
I move to approve this. Well, first of all, let me, before I move, Mayor, since this is my agenda item, I would like to explain why Councilmember Gumbs, Councilmember Reeves, and I met because we could only meet less than a quorum with staff. And one of the things that we want is to implement more time in our planning and zoning process. It's moving too fast. And so what we're asking, and also what we have established is that majority of our zoning cases are being deferred. So that also is an indication that we need more time, not only on the back end, but we need more time on the front end and working with constituents. And so I'm asking that when we have work sessions, we hear the cases, we hear the comments from residents, and then on regular meetings, if we need to, if we're ready to vote, we can move the items to the regular agenda during the regular meetings and then just simply vote on them.
Okay, I'll entertain your motion.
I move that we approve this measure to have zoning cases heard in public hearings during the work session day on second Tuesdays at 6 p.m. and to vote on the same zoning cases at the next regular meeting, council meetings held for the fourth Tuesday at 4 p.m.
Is there a second?
Second.
Properly moved by Ms. Willis and second by Ms. Gilliard. Any discussion? No hearing?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh. Is it not the case that, as it stands now, that we can postpone any case before us for extended period of time or whatever time that we specify? In fact, that we've done that at previous meetings, as well as the various boards, like the planning commission can defer cases.
I mean, yes.
Okay, so my concern, and I'm just sharing it, is if questions come up, and I know we say that it may not happen, but those cases have to be there at every step. I just don't understand why can't we deal with them as we have with deferrals, and we've done that for 60, 90 days, which is the same thing, and you're asking for additional information. How is it? I don't see the need for it. So just give me some more perspective of why we think this is necessary.
The perspective that I gave is that majority of our zoning cases are deferred. When we are presenting cases at our work sessions, that is the first time that stuff is coming to council, majority of the time. And so, you know, this will allow us to hear feedback from residents. This will allow us to hear the recommendation from staff. And then it gives us time between this meeting and the next regular meeting to either get back with the community, get with staff, or digest the information. And so this is an attempt to put more time in our zoning process, and I will be coming back with even more recommendations when I get with the council to put even more time in the CZIM process. And so that is my perspective. I talked with some of my colleagues, and you know, they agree that we need more time in the planning process. I can only tell you if you don't agree with it, Councilmember Rowell, vote no or vote yes.
I mean, I will vote based accordingly. I just wanted your perspective why this was necessary when we could already defer. So I was thinking I would hear something different, but you've answered.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Clerk, let's vote, please.
So roll call vote to approve this measure. It was a motion by Councilmember Willis, seconded by Councilmember Gilliard. Councilmember Rowell.
Nay.
Councilmember Gumbs.
Yes.
Councilmember Willis.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard.
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid.
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
That item was approved 6-1.
Next item, please.
Next item is item 19, second reading and requested council approval of FY21 budget amendment number 2 ordinance, finance.
I move that we approve the second reading for budget amendment fiscal year 2021.
There a second? Hearing no second?
Second.
Okay, there's a second. Second by Ms. Gumbs. Discussion.
I have discussion. And
Go right ahead, Mr. Khalid.
I think many of us, both on council and in the constituency of this city, were shocked to learn about the $1,300,000 in revenues that had been collected off the backs of our residents for these speed cameras. I know personally, when I voted for these cameras, I was concerned about pedestrian safety. I heard Renaya Major's story, and I have several stories of people here on Old National. You cannot drive down Old National without seeing bears and flowers and things on our roads. If we are really going to be about pedestrian safety, and we are really going to honor those who've lost their lives and respect those who've given their tax dollars for this program, I would like to make a substitute motion to move the $1 million of that $1,300,000. I want to see $1 million go to pedestrian improvements, especially sidewalks, crosswalks, and speed bumps. There are some of these school zones would not even require cameras if we had speed bumps, and some of them are eligible to have speed bumps. All of them are eligible to have crosswalks. And if we are on track to raise $3 million off the backs of our residents every year for pedestrian safety, that money should go to pedestrian safety. So that is my motion to amend this budget amendment so that $1 million of the traffic camera money that we have now will go to actual pedestrian safety improvements.
All right, there's a second.
Second.
I've moved a second. Before this is discussion. Ms. Robinson?
Yes, sir.
What is the percentage of money that we get from the speed cameras that does not go to the company itself?
I'm not exactly sure the percentage, sir. Okay. I get the net amount from the company, and I have not, but I could get that information from the police department and return back to you with that information.
What amount do you show in that area right now?
$1.3 million as of the time that I did this report.
And the speed camera people have gotten their portion of that 1.3 million?
Yes, sir. We get the net amount.
Okay.
They get their portion and they send us the remainder.
Okay, that's right.
We don't send any money back to them.
Okay, that's what I need to know.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
On those types of initiatives that we're talking about, I think we want to consider those capital improvements or infrastructure improvements.
Yes, ma'am.
Just want to point that out for you.
Yes, is that what Mr. Khalid, is that what you're talking about?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Mr. Khalid?
I think so. I want to be clear. I am offering a compromise, because what many of my residents are calling for is to abolish this program and return the money. Was not to them that they were.
What she wants from you right now is the way you said it. Are these to be capital improvements, infrastructure improvements only?
Yeah.
And I would say that we would need to look at the budget holistically as opposed to a set amount of $1 million without looking at all the other expenditures associated with this. These revenues. These are not additional monies because we have other operational issues that we're trying to allocate. This is general fund money that is going to support the general fund.
I got you.
So I want to be clear. House Bill 978, which approves this, says that in lines 210 and 211 says this money can only be used to fund local law enforcement or public safety initiatives.
And that's what we're doing.
That's what we're doing. Okay, let me ask you a question. Chief, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Let me ask you one question. Have you used any of this money to purchase a Bearcat?
I'm sorry?
Have you used any of this money to purchase a Bearcat?
That's what the budget amendment is asking for. And if I may, Mayor, those initiatives, when we talk about sidewalks and things of that nature, those are transportation projects. They would not be considered public safety initiatives. And so that would just be those funds are restricted to local law enforcement, as Councilman Khalid said, in public safety initiatives.
But it was my understanding from way back that you were going to use these confiscated funds. Am I correct?
Mr. Mayor, if you look at item number item D in the memo on the budget amendment that I have presented, 360,000 is appropriate, is being requested to be appropriated for the payment of the Bearcat.
From where?
From those
Confiscated funds,
from the general funds.
Is it?
They're not from confiscated funds. Confiscated funds are not general fund. They're a different funding source.
So Chief, what's the difference?
Why is it mixed up?
I thought that we were going to get it from confiscated funds. Chief, can you explain that to me?
Yeah.
We actually, because those funds were readily available, we went on and, we're still waiting for our confiscated funds to come in.
I don't understand.
So,
okay. Excuse me, Mr. Khalid, if you'll hold up a minute, Mr. Reeves has his hand up.
And I'm in the queue.
I see you, Mr. Willis. Go ahead. You be next, Mr. Willis, then we'll have Ms. Gumbs.
All right, I have two questions. Because the blighted fund, if the school cameras can only be for public safety, then can blighted homes in the school zones be considered public safety, and those can come out of those funds? And then two is signs that's on the 35-mile-an-hour speed, or in my area, 35 or 45, can signs be put there and placed just simply to say just enforced during school hours? That's all good.
Okay. Mr. Meadows, you want to answer that or respond to that?
Yes, we can't use those funds for signage. That is one of the initiatives that I've spoken with Councilwoman Willis and Councilman Reeves about. And that's been a desire from some of their constituents to have that signage put up. But the school hours, the hours that the kids are in school, to be on the bottom portion of the speed limit signs themselves.
Okay, we'll have Ms. Willis, Ms. Gumbs, Ms. Gilliard, and we'll conclude Mr. Khalid.
I really do think that we need to be careful reallocating funds. Again, as Chief, this was my legislation. As Chief Meadows stated, these are restricted funds, and the funds are restricted to public safety needs. Also in the chat, Attorney Hyman mentioned that if House Bill 978 passes, the funds from the school zone cameras will have to be deposited in a specified law enforcement account for law enforcement and public safety initiatives. So public safety is properly associated with law enforcement. Now, Chief Meadows, I don't think is acting irresponsibly with these funds. And if you want to, don't just horn in on speed enforcement cameras. And I wish we stop disrespecting Renaya Majors. Stop using her name in vain. At the end of the day, any fines that is leverage for any law that's broken in the city is off the backs of taxpayers. So when you break laws, you are fined. And, this is no different. And so I just think that if these funds have been allocated to buy public safety items that were already allocated for Chief Meadows, why are we giving him a hard time? I don't understand. Okay. I mean, he talked to us, he talked to me, he talked to several other council members about purchasing signage. And I've even inquired about crosswalks. So don't put it out there that he don't care about the public safety needs of our kids and in our school zones. Chief Meadows have researched every angle he can to see what he can legally expend the funds on. And so this budget amendment also has the funding that's needed for our attorney to go ahead and get staffing. He's operating as a one-man show.
Okay, Mrs. Gilliard, thank you, Ms. Willis.
I thought I was next.
Oh, you are.
Who's this?
Gumbs.
No, ma'am, you were not, Ms. Gilliard. I'm sorry, yes, you are. Yes, you are.
He's
Yeah,
next.
go right ahead, Ms. Gumbs.
So my question, I believe it was in 2019 that we discussed the purchase of the Bearcat. We got a lot of feedback from the community, a lot of backlash, and we were understood that the funds were there from confiscated items. So are we saying from 2019 to now that we have not received any funding for confiscated items, Chief? Is that what you're saying?
No, we do have a lump sum of money in there. It just wasn't enough to cover the Bearcat at the time.
So we're paying this in full?
Yes, yes, because initially you all had given me permission, if you remember, to pursue a lease option, instead of just buying it outright. And so since the monies came in, we just decided that it would be in our best interest, instead of leasing it, to just do an actual purchase.
So that means the pricing of what we've discussed at first has completely changed for the contract as to buying versus leasing for this Bearcat. And what was, I didn't have an opportunity to look at, what was the amount that was changed?
The purchase price was $377,000, and you all
And that's
gave
to
us
pay it for outright.
right, and you all gave us the ability to put $18,000 down payment on it. I believe it was back in 2019, which is what we did, and we did do that from the confiscated funds.
And my second question is that the Bearcat is in our possession, and we're actually using it, because I did see, I guess, a photo from East Point, and it showed our Bearcat. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. So do other agencies assist with law enforcement as far as getting any type of funding if they're using some of our equipment?
Well, we have a metro area SWAT team. So we have East Point as part of our SWAT team, and Fairburn, along with the Fulton County schools. And we have MARTA, that's part of our metro area SWAT team. And so we all kind of support each other's efforts whenever search warrants have to be done. Instead of having a full-time SWAT unit within the police department, which would require a lot of personnel to make that happen, we've just kind of combined resources in an effort to try to make that happen.
Okay,
And
but
so,
there's no fees or funding associated with using our equipment in regards to that, because
no.
Okay.
No, but what happens for us, we get the opportunity to keep all of the confiscated funds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Gilliard, you're next.
Chief Meadows.
Yes.
What restrictions do you have, if any, in terms of how the funds can be spent?
They have to be spent on public safety initiatives, things that would help to enhance the police department, or any initiative that we saw fit. Like if we wanted to put together a police athletic league, if we needed a facility for that, we could use those funds for being able to move our reporting management system to the cloud, which is one thing that we've looked at doing. We're also in the process of pricing out license plate readers and public sector cameras that we want to deploy throughout the city. I know that one of Councilwoman Gumbs' constituents reached out to me the other day about will we be putting cameras and call boxes along our walking trails? And the answer to that is yes, we'll be using those funds to put cameras along the walking trails along with call boxes to try to help further public safety initiatives. And so to that extent, I think building out our camera infrastructure and being able to put additional speed detection devices throughout the city. I had spoken with several council members. What I'm going to do is ask each one of the council members to identify an area where you keep getting problems about complaints about speeding. And we're going to do a study, and if we're able to get permits for those areas, we'll erect speed detection devices for those. And if you know what I mean, it's if you're speeding, it'll show your speed. It flashes up there. Those sort of things have a psychological effect. So we wanted to take the money that was being generated as a result of technology and reinvest it in technology as much as we can. And so,
so what about crosswalks? Because I don't have any in my district.
Those are all transportation projects.
I see.
And so, yeah, those are those sort of projects. And while, you know, it's nice to say that they're public safety initiatives, they really are transportation projects as opposed to public safety projects.
I see. So now we know that how we should define public safety, and then for the other issues, then we can discuss those during our 6-month budget review.
Right.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Mayor,
yes, go ahead.
Mayor Edwards, if you don't mind me, I was just going to mention, you know, those type of projects may be eligible projects that we can look at putting into our upcoming T-SPLOS projects. So we can.
That's true too.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just wanted to add that.
Okay, and Ms. Gilliard, you do have crosswalkers on walkers on Hall Road.
Where?
Yeah, it's on Hall Road.
You mean where the schools are?
Yeah, it's like that. Yeah.
Anyway,
let me go to Mr. Khalid. He's next, and then we'll vote.
I just wanted to tell you, Nina has her hand up.
Oh, Nina, Ms.
And
Khalid,
yes. Yeah, she has her hand up, Mayor. That's all I was trying to say.
Yes, Mayor. I wanted to add all the initiatives that the chief has pointed out to you that they are would like to take on with your permission. Those would go through the same budgetary process as any FY 2021 amendment, FY 22 proposed. They would be included in the budget, and then the resources that we have would be considered, and then we would make those appropriations at that time. So it's not just receiving money and making a decision to spend the money because we have money. We don't have the resources that we have been reviewed. I've looked at them and I've made this budget amendment proposal based on the immediate operational needs that we noted. The legal department, some contractual obligations for animal control, some contractual obligations for permitting, and I've included those for your consideration at this time. There will be other budget amendments that will come forth as we continue to review and analyze what we need to present to you.
Did anybody hear me say Mr. Khalid would be the last speaker?
Yes, but Mayor, I don't think you saw the screen. Councilmember Rowell had her hand up the entire time. She had her brown hand up.
Mr. Khalid, allow you to go. Ms. Rao, I'm going to allow you to go, but we're going to go for a vote after that.
Okay. First, I want to say, I'm not here to argue about the Bearcat. There is $1,300,000. I know that there's probably votes to go ahead and spend $300,000 on a Bearcat. We spend 20% or more of our budget on police and less than 1% on economic development. We cannot police our way to prosperity. But I'm not here to argue that. I'm here to argue about the legislative intent. So I'm going to pull up House Bill 978, which in this highlighted portion says that the money goes to fund local law enforcement or public safety initiatives, not local law enforcement and public safety initiatives, not local law enforcement in parentheses, public safety initiatives. The drafters took the time to separate out public safety initiatives from local law enforcement and used the separator or, which means that all of the money does not have to go to local law enforcement. In previous conversations, we've called the fire department public safety. I think that keeping pedestrians crossing the street from being hit by cars is keeping them safe.
Okay.
That's argument number one. Argument number two is that we've all said if House Bill 978 passes, which means it has not passed, which means there is nothing that precludes us from spending this money as we see fit until it passes. And number three, with all due respect to Chief Meadows and Ms. Robinson and all of these other people, none of them have passed the Georgia State Bar, have JDs or a legislative council. I do not believe that that is the intent of that legislation. And if it is, and if it passes, I am telling you, it was not my intent to create a fund. We projected $300,000 a year. We are on track to make 8 times that much. We are not Ferguson. I didn't vote to create a ticket writing program that would be a revenue generator for our police department. That's not what I voted for. I voted to keep pedestrians safe. I was told that that's what this bill was about. And now that there are millions of dollars sloshing around, we're spending it on things that are not about pedestrian safety. So for the record, I will then be making a motion, if this fails, to reconsider the approval of this bill, because that is not what I voted for. That is not what these citizens were told this would be about. And it is wrong.
Let me just say something before I go to Ms. Rowell, Mr. Khalid, to your point. One of the driving factors for economic development, there's really two. One is the school system, and the other is public safety. And we to lure people to our city. I don't want us to believe that public safety is just a sideline. I'm not against crosswalks and stuff like that. God, we need that. We have to make sure that in our city that we have a certain degree of public safety. And I want to add that to your comment. Ms. Rowell, go ahead and we'll have a vote.
What I want to say is that I think we shouldn't rush to make a decision about this. I heard the chief say that he had talked to some of the council members. I think he needs, again, to talk to all of them, looking at what the state law indicates it can be used for, which has clearly just been brought up on the screen, and bring back a plan. I think to do it on the fly in this meeting is not a good approach. And not a thoughtful approach. I think we should look at all the possibilities and the needs of this city and bring something back that we can all look at and decide on as a collective.
Okay. What's the motion on the floor, please, Mr. Clerk?
There's a substitute motion on the floor, motion by Councilmember Khalid, second by Councilmember Baker, to amend this budget amendment to allocate $1 million of the traffic fund to go towards pedestrian improvements, including sidewalks, crosswalks, and speed bumps.
Okay, let's vote, please.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rowell?
No.
Councilmember Gumbs?
No.
Councilmember Willis?
No.
Councilmember Gilliard?
No.
Councilmember Reeves?
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor?
That motion fails 3-4.
Mr.
Okay,
Mayor?
Can I
Just
make a motion?
1 minute. Wait a minute. We have what was the previous motion, sir?
The previous motion was to approve the budget amendment, a motion by Councilmember Willis, second by Councilmember Gumbs.
Okay, Ms. Gill, y'all hold on till I get to discussion, okay? This is discussion. We haven't had a discussion on this one, right?
Right, yes.
Okay.
And so, Mayor.
No, let's get, I heard.
Oh, let me
I
go
heard
into the queue. I'm
yeah.
going to queue.
Okay, going to the queue. I heard Ms. Gilliard, go ahead. Ms. Gilliard?
Yeah, what I wanted to say before we jump to the next thing, I think that what Councilwoman Rowell proposed makes sense in the sense that it doesn't take it completely off the table. It gives us an opportunity to look at it much deeper and then come up with a solution instead of just leaving it with, no, we're not going to do anything. I think, and I don't know Robert's Rules of Order well enough to know how do you do that next before we go on to the next thing. I just don't want to leave that topic without there being something, because the resources are there. It is for public safety. This is the first time that I'm hearing it in all of these different well, from the chief's perspectives, from finances perspectives, and I think that if we have a total picture, then we can make another decision.
Absolutely.
Mr. Rowell,
I would like to make a motion.
There is already a motion on the floor,
gotta
Mayor.
carry the motion like that out.
It was
Mayor,
carried.
Am I right,
Okay,
Mr.
I'll
Adams?
wait till after we carry it and I'll address what was raised.
Okay, good.
And I was in
Right
the
now,
queue
now,
for,
Mr. Willis, are you finished, Ms. Rowell? I'm sorry.
Yes, I'll wait till after we
Okay.
make this vote, take this vote.
Miss Willis?
yes, and so this budget amendment has all of the stuff allocated in it. And, you know, we keep kicking the can down the road. This Bearcat has to be paid for. So I do not agree with taking the money out of this budget amendment. We need to at least pay for that Bearcat. And then whatever the Bearcat, whatever balance is left, then we ask Chief to get with the city manager, and the city manager get with the council to determine how we can legally expend these funds, because some of us voted on using it for transportation projects, and the attorney just told us we cannot do that. And so the only person who has passed the bar and this Esquire is our city attorney. And so I would like to reframe my motion, Mayor, at this time that's on the floor. I would like to say that we approve this budget amendment, and the money that is allocated, the 1.2 million, we take the money that we need to pay for the Bearcat, and then the balance of that money we get with the city manager. We allow the city manager and the police chief and the city attorney to get together and see how we can legally expend those funds and come back with a plan.
Who's the seconder on that motion?
Councilmember Gumbs.
Councilman Gumbs, do you accept that?
Not at this time, sir.
Can I'd like to move that we accept the budget amendment as presented and do the other one as a separate motion.
Okay, well then that way we can just, we can go back to where it was, second.
Right.
The second, okay.
Right.
All right,
Properly
second.
moved by Mrs. Rowell and second by Ms. Willis. Any discussion?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So as a part of this, then the chief and finance and the city manager is going to come back, and the city attorney is going to come back with a plan of how the $1 million can be spent legally. Is that what we're saying?
We're saying that's going to be another motion.
It's gonna be a separate motion. That's what I was saying.
I see. Okay. All right.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Clerk?
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rowell.
Yes.
Councilmember Gumbs.
Yes.
Councilmember Willis.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard.
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid.
Hell no.
What did you say? You said hell no.
I think
that he need to be kicked out of the meeting, man. That's crazy.
We don't have that kind of language in our meeting, Mr. Khalid. It's either yes, no, or abstain. Who's last? Ms. Baker?
Councilmember Baker.
Nay.
That item is approved 5-2.
Okay.
I move that we have the police chief, the finance director, Ms. Robinson, and the city manager bring back a plan that aligns with the use of these funds per state law to come back to the council for approval.
And the
Second.
attorney.
Properly moved by Ms. Rouse. I think it's seconded by Ms. Gumbs. Discussion.
Yeah, you left out the attorney.
Okay.
I add the attorney.
Mr. Adams, add the attorney to her motion.
Yes, sir.
Okay, discussion, Mr. Khalid.
That law hasn't been passed. It is not a state law.
Okay, that's your only comment?
I'm talking about the law that's on the books.
Okay, let's go.
Oh, look.
Let's go ahead now. Who's
I have a question.
Yeah, I
Councilman
don't see you in the queue, but I'm gonna let you talk. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I heard only partially heard what Councilman Khalid said. He said it wasn't state law. Is that what you said, Councilman Khalid?
That law has not. So if we're going to do it by state law, then we can use it for anything.
Mayor, I'm in the queue when she get finished.
So can I ask Attorney Hyman a question?
Sure.
Attorney Hyman, what law are we dealing with as it relates to these funds?
Right now, it's House Bill 978, and I put in the chat that if it passes, the provision about it being for law enforcement or public safety initiatives, because right now, like the House bill, I don't know where they are in the process of approving this, but this could be future guidance, or you can vote at your pleasure. But right now, it is not binding on, because I don't know if it's passed, but the question is, do you want to have to revisit or rework something once, if it does become state law? But that's at the pleasure of the board. But right now, that's why I prefaced it. If House Bill 978 was to pass, it has these restrictions or guidance on in terms of accounting for those funds, how you account for them.
I see. Okay, thank you.
I think we, Mayor, since it's my motion, we still want a
I'm in the
plan.
queue, Mayor. Are you letting us?
Ms. Rowell.
I'm just clarifying. I think the
Hold on,
council.
Ms. Rowell. Ms. Willis, I see you in the
Okay,
queue.
but you're just letting people go out of turn, and then when I
I see you in the queue. I was doing that, Ms. Willis. Go ahead.
Who's
and then we'll
turn?
have Ms. Rowell.
Okay, so
I mean,
Ms. Rowell, give me a, Ms. Willis, go ahead, then we'll have Ms. Rowell.
I guess I don't understand why we keep having this discussion, because we said that the motion that Councilmember Rowell made was that the city manager, the attorney, and the chief was gonna get together and figure out what we legally could expend these funds on and come back with a plan.
Well, we're having the discussion because we are in discussion. And I'm gonna let Ms. Rowell speak, and then we'll go for the vote.
Well, she captured it, but again, adding the attorney, regardless, I think the council wants a plan, and we're not just kind of doing one-offs. So deal with the current law, which allows more flexibility, but still consulting with the staff based on the needs of the city.
All right.
We want a plan.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, restate the motion. Let's vote, please.
There's a motion by Councilmember Rowell, seconded by Councilmember Gumbs, for the attorney, the police chief, the finance director, and the city manager to meet and bring back a recommendation for the expenditure of these funds consistent with state law.
Vote, please.
Yes.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rowell.
Yes.
Councilmember Gumbs.
Yes.
Councilmember Willis.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard.
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid.
I abstain.
Rationale.
I'm not clear what state law means.
Okay. Next.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
That item is approved 601.
Mayor, I have a question to you.
Who's your question to?
You.
Okay, go ahead.
So does this mean that we still have a $300,000 Bearcat bill when we have funds to pay for? I'm just asking.
Are you asking that to me?
Yeah, I mean,
Here's what I thought. Here's what I heard. I thought in our previous conversations that all the money for the Bearcat was going to be coming out of confiscated funds.
We just approved a budget amendment, though.
Yeah,
okay, never mind, Mayor.
The budget amendment, and that gives them the right to put the money in.
Okay, I'm good, Mayor. I'm moving on.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Willis. Okay, Mr. Clerk, go ahead.
Yeah, next item is item 20, second reading. Request council approval of an ordinance enhancing operational efficiency, amending section 4.13 city clerk of the city of South Fulton charter, sponsored by Councilmember Rowell.
What number is this?
Item 20.
Okay.
Just a little background. Previously, the language in our charter didn't clarify that the city clerk's responsibility was to be the record, to maintain record for all city records. This amendment seeks to make it a little more specific in terms of those duties. But I do want to make one change from what's presented as is. For the benefit of the council, I want to read the current language and then the proposed. The current language says the city manager shall appoint a city clerk who shall not be a council member. The city clerk shall be a custodian of the official city seal, maintain city council records required by this charter, and perform such other duties as may be required by the city manager. The city council shall provide for the compensation of the city clerk. The city clerk shall be the official custodian of all city records, including but not limited to records and documents from ethics hearings and hearings to remove the mayor or council members. That's how it reads now.
I'll entertain a motion.
Well, I wanted to read.
Go.
Yeah, I wanted to read so that they would be clear.
Okay, so you wanted to go to the next meeting?
No. Well, I could, for the benefit, I think it's easier to see in writing, so I will.
It's up to you. You can make a motion or you can, it's just your second read.
Okay. We'll have it presented for the third read, for the benefit, and everybody can see it.
Okay, next item, please.
Okay. Next item is item 21, second reading and request council approval of amended parking ordinance.
Let me add something here. I think there's some communication understanding between 21 and 22. Are you all feeling the same way?
No, they're two different ones, Mayor.
All
One
right.
is for the veterans parking signage and the other
got
one
you.
is for the amendment.
I got you. Okay.
I just ask that we go ahead and approve this parking amendment ordinance that I have worked with Chief Meadows and the solicitor on. This would give the chief and police officers the ability to enforce the parking parking ordinance.
Okay, is there a second?
Second, and I have discussion.
Okay, ma'am. All right, it's been properly moved and second, moved by Ms. Willis and second by Ms. Gilliard. And Ms. Gilliard, this is now discussion.
Councilwoman Willis, does this cover HOAs? Because I know that the chief had prepared something for HOAs because they really have a problem with such tight streets. And he was supposed to bring that back by the parking ordinance that they use, which is sort of like the general one. So does it include them?
Mayor, do you mind if I let Chief Meadows respond?
No, I don't. You can, Mr. Chief Meadows.
So the legislation that I presented and what Councilwoman Willis is presenting here, they accomplish two different things. What the legislation that I presented accomplishes, it allowed for HOAs to be able to petition to their individual council members to have no parking zones or parking zones. It would have given one or the other. In other words, they would have to specifically define what those no parking areas or parking areas would look like. For instance, there will be no parking from the 100 block to 200 block of Main Street, and a sign would have to be erected at the beginning of that no parking zone or at the end. And so that would give the HOA some ownership of being able to identify their own parking and no parking zones. Basically, what Councilwoman Willis's ordinance tells us is where we cannot park, right? And so you can't park within 10 feet of a mailbox. So you have to be able to design your no parking and your parking zones around those restrictions, basically.
And Mayor, thank you, Chief Meadows. And so Councilmember Gilliard, the ordinance that Councilmember Khalid is working on, he is dealing with the parking zones, establishing parking zones for HOAs. This ordinance is dealing with where you can't park.
Okay, so thank you. So I can talk to him.
Okay.
Okay.
So, Mayor, I moved that. I mean, it's a second. I moved in. It was
Mayor Pro Tem Willis, the mayor has stepped away, so you are in charge of the meeting.
okay. Thank you. Can you tell me who all is in the queue?
Next is Councilmember Khalid. Then I had yourself and then Councilmember Rowell.
Okay, I will recognize Councilmember Khalid at this time.
I want to be clear. I heard Chief Meadows say no parking within 10 feet of a mailbox. I do not see this as one of the items listed. Am I missing that?
Item 21.
I was using that as an example.
No, this is very important and for a very specific reason. I'm looking at page 197 of the agenda, which lists the no parking rules. It lists 15 rules,
Right.
and a mailbox is not listed among.
And so, Councilmember Khalid, this information was, this ordinance was worked on between the solicitor, the police chief, and the attorney. And so what we have done is there were specific information Chief Meadows was asked to put in the ordinance to give him the ability to not have any ambiguity or officers any ambiguity when they're out there trying to force this ordinance. We talked about this last council meeting, and Chief Meadows recommended to the city attorney, based off of his conversations with the solicitor, what information is needed in this policy for him to enforce this policy. So what specific question are you trying to propose at this? I mean, you're trying to pose at this time.
So I am working with an HOA that does not have sufficient parking spaces. And we are working on a parking solution whereby people will be able to park in front of their mailboxes after 5 p.m. That would be obliterated if we pass an ordinance today that says they cannot park in front of their mailboxes at any time, which is why it was important for me to have both of these considered at the same time. As I am reading this ordinance now, mailboxes are not included, which means that even if we pass this ordinance, people will still be able to park in front of their mailboxes, which works for me. What is more important is that my ordinance, which I submitted over a month ago, that it be on the next meeting agenda and that we are able to pass it as an emergency ordinance, because these people who have not received mail for 4 months just started receiving their mail back again, but it is conditional, and that condition was actually supposed to end today.
So what I would suggest to you, we are voting, what's on the floor is this ordinance. And what I would suggest that you do is get with Chief Meadows, get with the mayor, and discuss the logistics about bringing your ordinance back to adjust what you're saying you don't see in this ordinance, and discuss whether or not it can be deemed as emergency. Do you have any other specific questions regarding this? Because you have 2 minutes and 54 seconds left.
That's fine, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Rowell.
Yes, I raised this in the first read, item number 6. And I thought she said he concurred, but I don't see it amended. That within 10 feet of a driveway, the written consent of the owner of a driveway had to be obtained.
Yeah, I thought we took written consent out
Yeah,
and just left 10 feet within 10 feet of a driveway. And that might be particularly problematic for what Councilman Khalid was just referring to.
Attorney Hyman, is there a reason why we didn't take that out?
It was circulated, might have been missed, but it can be stricken. I mean, based by the vote, that can be easily, according to our charter, just taken out.
Okay, so Councilmember Rowell, can you restate what you would like?
So item number 6 would read within 10 feet of a driveway, and just end there. So
I have it.
Okay,
It'll just
we
be,
would
it'll just
strike
strike through.
everything after that.
Right.
okay. He said he has it and he will revise the ordinance.
And I
Okay.
just want to ask Chief Meadows, was there anything else? It seems like 2 things, but I can't recall. That was the one that I was on, but I remember some other discussion. Do you recall?
I
Well,
don't.
What I
Okay.
did ask Councilmember Rowell is that for the city attorney to go back and listen to the tape, because remember, and make sure that this ordinance is inclusive of everything that we mentioned in the last regular council meeting.
I do remember there were a couple of issues that came up that we discussed. I just can't remember what they were. I would have to go back through it again.
Do we need to hold this until, and make sure that everything is included, because we missed one thing? This is the second read. We don't have.
I would recommend that we do it that way. The issues that Councilman Khalid is raising are covered at the same time, and we're looking at it holistically. I think that's a good idea.
Councilmember Khalid is working on another ordinance dealing with zones, but I just want to make sure that we have everything that we mentioned from the last council meeting included in this policy according with what you just mentioned. So I will withdraw my motion and request that we hold this until the next regular council meeting. Attorney Hyman, can you please get with Chief Meadows to shore this up so we don't have this problem next council meeting?
Absolutely.
Okay. Do we need a vote on holding this measure? Because this is a second read. We don't have to vote on the second read. We can vote on the second read, but we don't have to. So I'm going to just hold this until the next council meeting.
Thank you.
Okay. So Clerk Adams, can you sound the next item on the agenda, please?
Yes, item 22, second reading and request council approval of parking ordinance recognizing the city of South Fulton veterans. Council members Gumbs and Reeves.
Entertain a motion.
So first, I just want to kind of give background again. This is designated for veterans parking only in some of our business spaces. So it is the hopes and desires that we will work with our economic development and our community development and regulatory affairs to get these signage to these businesses. I did notice that the fine was not changed in the current ordinance as we asked in the last meeting to take it down to 25 versus 50. So Attorney Hyman, can you please make sure that that is stricken to where it is 25 and not $50 fine that is in the ordinance?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Gumbs, are you fine with voting on this today, or do you want to bring it
Yes,
back?
I am. I'm fine with voting on it today.
Okay, I'll
So
entertain
I like to make a motion to go ahead and approve this ordinance for the veterans parking for the city of South Fulton.
With the amendment,
With the amendment of the change of $50 fine to $25.
Okay. It has been motion and seconded by Councilmember Reeves to approve this agenda item with the amendments. Clerk Adams, can you do a roll call for the vote?
Roll call vote, Councilmember Rowell.
Yes.
Councilmember Gumbs.
Yes.
Councilmember Willis.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard.
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid.
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
That item was approved with the amendment unanimously.
Thank you. Clerk Adams, can you please call the next item on the agenda?
Next item on the agenda is item 24, and this is the first reading of proposed changes to the false alarm ordinance, police department.
Okay. Councilmember Gilliard, do you have anything to say, or you just want to wait until the second reading?
I'll wait until the second.
Okay. Thank you. Clerk Adams, can you please sound the next item on the agenda?
Next item is item 25, first reading of amendments to Title II, taxation of the city's ordinance regarding the procedures for denial, suspension, or revocation of occupation tax certificate. Mayor
Thank
Pro
you.
Tem Willis.
Thank you so much. This is ordinance that we had to go back and bring into alignment with the charter changes. And we no longer have the treasury role, so we had to go back and bring this in alignment with the current treasury role. This is the first read, so we will not vote on this today. So if you have any questions or concerns about this amendment to the ordinance, please make sure you bring those to my attention prior to the next regular council meeting. Clerk Adams, can you please sound the next item on the agenda, please?
Next item is Roman numeral 8, executive session.
I entertain a motion for us to go to an executive session. I'll make it because I do know we have some items that need to be discussed. So
can we have a break?
Yes,
Break. Yeah.
I will. Okay. So can we move to go? I move that we go into executive session for personnel, litigation, and real estate. It is 7:09. So what do you all need? About 10 minutes or 15 minutes?
15.
Okay. So Clerk Adams, what time would that be? 15 minutes from now?
7:25.
Okay. So I move that we convene at 7:25 for executive session for personnel, litigation, and real estate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Somebody got a second.
Second.
All right. Can you call the roll call, please?
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rowell.
Yes.
Councilmember Gumbs.
Sorry. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Councilmember Willis.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard.
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid.
Yes.
And Councilmember Baker. Aye.
All right, I'll see you all in 15 minutes. Mayor Edwards?
Yes.
I need you to answer your phone. I need to give you a very important message, a real important message from somebody.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.